We're here.
We are.
You made it happen, George.
Oh, you made it happen, and we wanted to come down here and see Dennis Friel and the whole bit. And
you like the place?
I love it. It's like when I first came in, compared to where you were, it has such a warm, like it's more of a home type feeling that you really get in the fishing mood when you come here. And I think the colors are just right to put you in that type of mood.
Yeah, where am I? Because well, yeah, this is really cool. I feel like I'm in a place that I would, if you weren't around, I would just take a few of these things and quietly go out the door. But I'm assuming you want to, I don't see a cash register, but no, really, really impressive store.
Thank you.
In a perfect location. There's probably more fishermen. I lived in Lighthouse Point for almost 20 years and Pompano before that. There's more great fishermen between Pompano, Lighthouse Point, and Boca than maybe anywhere
in the world. Yep. We say that on the show all the time. And that is one of the reasons why we had to move our operation from Sleepy Coral Springs, to which there's a certain charm to that, to here to Pompano, because we just feel that if you can go anywhere else on the planet, and he's mentioned a few other places that do compete with it, but really pound for pound.
Yeah.
If you go to Los Sueños, you go to anywhere in Costa Rica or down there at Tropic Star or any of these big tournaments anywhere in the world, chances are you're going to find someone from Pompano there.
That's so true.
Well,
right? Fishing it.
To play point counterpoint here, I mean, there's no doubt this is a beautiful area. You're in the right location as far as the concentration of saltwater anglers. But when he used to be in Coral Springs and he would invite me, it was like a 3-mile drive from my house over there.
Yeah.
And then he had things all backwards. 10 o'clock in the morning, he would do these things and be putting Pilar rum out, and and at least now he upgraded to 3 in the afternoon.
I've been drinking on the morning radio show for 30 years, so this is nothing new to me. I made a career of it. Well, the interesting other side of this is, with all these great fishermen between Pompano and Lighthouse Point, I think Broward County is probably the worst fishing in.
No one fishes here, right?
It's the worst. It's, unfortunately, I think it's because of maybe the flow from the intercoastal isn't as great, or whatever the reason. And again, this thing with Coral Springs, George, with all due respect, you're one of the most respected fishermen on the planet Earth. What are you doing out there? I made it a point.
There's a quietness.
I refuse to live west of 95. I can't. It's just, I feel weird.
It's quiet. And then when we had bought out there in Parkland, as you know, I'm a Miami native. Born and raised in Miami. Yep. That's why, with the strong fishing roots, I know so many areas I still to this day trailer a lot down to the fish because I've got the area wired out. Plus, as you just said, how tough it is in Broward, unless you get a good current or something's passing through. If you know where to go and how to do it out of Miami, you're always going to find some kind of consistent fishing. But when our daughters are growing up, or my first one, my wife said, let's go to a nice area that, where the schools are really good. And that's what she wanted to do. So, like you said,
I get that. The wife wins.
She wins.
Yeah,
exactly.
Every
so
time.
It's nice. It's quiet. And as much as I do with saltwater and I travel, it's like a refreshing break. You sort of get out of the salt just a little bit and you're out there. It's like you can breathe a little bit easier. It's wide, a little more open, and
plus he lives in the landings in Parkland, which is
it doesn't suck. Your kid. I'm not going to take over the interview here, but I have to.
No, you can. Please do.
I don't mean to, but because you and I both have kids.
Yeah.
I have an older son, my stepson. He's been with me since he was 2, and he's a 30-year-old guy now. And I have my son AJ. Nick, my oldest, didn't even want to see a fishing pole. I tried everything, diving. He didn't like the water. Didn't want to be anywhere near it. He's out in Colorado now. That's where he lives. He's much happier. AJ, he'd rather not be anywhere than on the water.
Well, there you go.
He's an animal.
At least you were a 50%, and you did that.
Yeah.
My daughters, when they were young, I would take them out. They would enjoy it, but then they just have like zero interest in it all.
Isn't that something?
And with my family, like my dad was the one who had the fishing. He was the one who got me into this. And outside of myself, there was really nobody else in my family that liked the fish. It was my dad, and then it was me. And I would talk to my daughters now, let's go fishing. No, I don't like that. And it's just weird that the genes hit my dad and they came to me.
I think for me, we moved to Florida from New York in 1971, and I never fished in New York, I don't believe. And we moved to Lake Osborne in Palm Beach County, and I don't know where it came from or what, but my mom and dad gave me a fishing pole. I walked to the lake, and I came back with 40 brim, and they were like, "What is this? What do we do with them?"
The gateway fish.
I got caught fish. But my grandfather, my father never fished, never was into it at all. But my grandfather took me on the drift boat. And to this day, I remember the first time I saw a ballyhoo hit the blue water and the color, and then it would come back with a bonito or a dolphin or a barracuda, and seeing those colors. And you as an artist, those colors are the first thing that I remember, and I'll never forget those colors.
Because there's a special kind of light that hits a fish that you don't get anywhere else on the planet. Maybe if you look into a diamond, you might find it, but that's about it.
And the water we have, say what you want about the fishing around here, but I mean that Gulf Stream blue. You go to Panama. I love the fishing in Panama, but the water's brown.
Yep.
And in Costa Rica and all those spots. There's nothing like what we have.
When you get that true vein of the Gulf Stream moving tight in the color, it's almost a cobalt when you get that real strong stream moving in tight. And there's nothing like it. And, you kidding around about Fort Lauderdale, it's, I've heard it referred to numerous times at the north end of the Dead Sea out of Fort Lauderdale. And I think it's just so much industry and it just, unless things are happening to pass, I think the water quality is a big issue, as it is pretty much everywhere, even down south. If you
go 12 miles to the east, you got some of the best fishing grounds.
Yeah, you're right.
But you're getting away from a lot of the influence of the nearshore and intercoastal and that coming out.
We have a running gag on my boat whenever we're fishing and things are going slow. And I'll say, should I say it? And he's like, no, don't say it. And it's usually those two words, the Dead Sea. The Dead Sea. And once someone says Dead Sea, we just pull up. We start reeling in grunts. We're out of here.
Listen, I want to introduce you guys. Not that you guys need an introduction. So I will just say that. But thank you very much for coming to join us here at Connected by Water, presented by Joey Cardi Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram and Papa's Pilar Rum. All right, now that I got my my requirement out of the way, I got to mention those guys. Thank you very much for joining us in the studio today. We're here to drink some rum and have a good time and not solve any of the world's problems, please. And and at John's request, I always have to say, listen, subscribe to YouTube, and all that technical stuff that I always forget to say. Check out our website that has all of our podcasts listed, and check us out on Spotify.com if you're just listening and not watching. I want to promote a couple things real quick. The Jimmy Johnson guitars up there on the Pilar bar. It is done. I just got to get the balls to take the tape off right now, which is a little bit
Please
of
do
a
it in front of us.
Yes, I can. I can. After the show, we'll definitely do that. I want to say that our grand opening, we have selected a date for our store here. We're going to do our grand opening party Sunday, March 14th. We are taping off the parking lot. We're going to have cornhole. We're going to have Micah's coming up from the Keys to play. And we're going to have might have some of this outside, but I'm not legally allowed to say that.
You can give it away. You can't sell it.
Yeah, we're going to give it away and pour some samples for everybody. And, and we're just going to have a good time. So, we're expecting a lot of people. So that's why we want to close off the parking lot and just show people have somewhere to stay. So they're not all packed in here. In a minute, Justin's going to show up and we are going to feature a product from ACR. It would remind us of the science of survival. So maybe he'll bring an EPIRB, maybe he'll bring something. I don't know what he's bringing.
And he's bringing one for each of us.
Right, one for each of us. Right, exactly. The Paul Castronovo show is on weekdays from 10 a.m. on Big 106, and you are just wrapping up.
From 6 a.m. to 10 a.m.
What did they say?
From 10 a.m.
I said from 10 a.m.?
From 10 a.m., yeah.
6 a.m. to 10 a.m.
I've been getting up way too early.
He's the pro, not me. Right.
No.
So I am bound to say that incorrectly. I apologize.
It's all right, buddy.
Your season, you're wrapping up your season 21?
I think we have 4 more episodes in the new season airing on Discovery Channel on Sunday mornings at 8 o'clock. And then after we finish those in quarter 1, then they re-air again on Discovery in quarter 2. So they'll repeat the series. And then we go back to work and in April, starting to shoot for 2022 for my series.
Awesome.
And that's I feel like such Sundays, a fanboy with you. I watch his shows and I'm like texting him like, that was a great. I feel like he must look at me like, okay, calm down, Castronovo.
It's an honor when a guy like Paul pays you a compliment. Wow. And, he's been, not to really make him sound old, but he's been such an instrumental voice in the South Florida radio scene. It's like the voice that, growing up, you're listening to him. Again, not to make you sound old.
Oh, that's okay. I've been doing it a while.
What's good about him too is he's got that hook, pun intended. He's a good saltwater angler. So you've got that connection as well. So when he says good things, I like it.
I always looked at myself as more of an angler than, like, when my son gets on the boat, he's rigging and tying and everything else. I can catch fish. For some reason, I can catch them. I'm good at it. But as far as rigging goes, I let him do it.
Yeah.
And I hate the fact that he's off in college because I don't have my mate with me. I'm stuck rigging in the garage. I'm just not as quick. George does it all.
I love the technical part about the rigging and the art involved, especially when you're rigging up trolling offshore baits and all. To me, it encompasses everything. Yes, the angling is very important, and that's the prestigious part. That's what you like, getting down and dirty with the fish and catching the fish and all that. But to me, it's the whole picture. The excitement starts if you're going to go 2-3 days from now, depending on the type of fishing. You're in your garage, you're rigging tackle, you're doing the leaders. If it's a trolling type deal that involves natural baits, like the day before, you'll set your time aside and start rigging the baits. And you're really ramping yourself up, excitement. People think that that's a lot of work doing all the rigging in his garage, to paint a neck, let somebody else do it. But it sort of ramps that excitement level. It brings it up to here. So when you clear that inlet, first thing that morning, there's not a damn thing that needs to be done other than trying to go out and look for signs that are going to lead you to fish. And like, okay, you take the wheel, I'm going to rig a dozen ballyhoo really quick. No, your job is done the night before, in my opinion. And that morning, you're watching electronics, you're scanning the horizon, and you and everybody in that boat has that one objective: look for signs that are going to lead you to fish. And then boom, when you get in that area, tackle, everything is ready to go, and you just employ it all. And
absolutely.
And I think so much of that success is done or won, the day, even before a trip.
Adding to that, I just made the greatest purchase since I started fishing, aside from my boat and all my tackle. And it is going to change the game, because the biggest issue with us is, who's going to get the ice? You want to pick up the ice? You want to get the ice?
You got an ice maker?
Dude, I bought a Mac Daddy from some restaurant supply store in Fort Lauderdale. The thing's like 8 years old, a Mackinac or Mackinac, something.
Yeah.
And a 450-pound bin.
That's the way to go.
Dude, I built a shed on the side of the house. It lives in it. It's got a
Us guys in Coral Springs can't do that kind of stuff.
I understand. Yes, and I have a permit. If anyone's listening, we did have it permitted. But it's awesome. My friends are like, "Can I go over and see the machine?" It's fantastic.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, that's the first thing. Harris bought his house. My partner at the business here, Harris bought his house in Deerfield, over in the Cove neighborhood, just to keep his Intrepid behind there. His first thing he did was he put an ice machine.
It's literally 20 feet from my boat.
Yeah.
So what we do now is, there's no more first thing in the morning scrambling.
Sure.
We ice the boat down the night before.
That's what we do too.
And if we have to top it off with maybe 1 or 2 buckets, but that wakes up my wife, and that's another conversation. But but it's really nice to have everything ready to go. I don't put the rods on the boat because these who's are out there at night, God knows what they're doing, stealing from us, and we've been hearing these stories left and right. But the rods are ready to go. We've loaded them and we're gone. That added so much to the. It's usually I got to go to Publix. I forgot the ice, whatever.
It's funny you say Publix. That's our re-icing deal. Out west, you go to Publix because they're the 10-pound bags and the big 20-pound.
Yeah.
So you get about 2 or 3 shopping carts with the 20 and you load it. Then you got to put in your truck. Then you go with your boat. Then you got to pack the fish box. You got to pack everything else. But it's a royal pain in the neck.
Best thing I ever did. I want you to come over just to see it.
Nice. So you mentioned the whole fanboy aspect of it, right? Or somebody did, right? But I got to say, from my perspective, right, I got you two sitting in front of me right now. This is probably the greatest moment that the shows has seen, right? And I mean that.
Oh, come on. You already have us here. You don't have to really
set your sights higher, man. You need to shoot a lot higher.
No, but I'm going to explain to you why. And I've talked about this on the show, that people always want to glorify those idiots out in Hollywood, right, about being the famous people. But this is South Florida.
I thought you talked about Hollywood, Florida. What are you talking about?
Hollywood, California.
Okay.
But this is homegrown South Florida talent right in front of me, right? Everyone in this room. And really, like, these are the guys that I grew up idolizing. Like, these are the famous people to me, not the Tom Cruises of the world and everything like that. So I'm honored to have you guys on the show. Right?
Well, appreciate it.
So I went to Gibbons. I may have told you this story already. So I went to Cardinal Gibbons, graduated a while ago, and I used to do the announcements in class before the school at the beginning of the day every morning.
I did the same thing. That's how I started.
And I ended, on your influence, the announcements every day at school going, have a hectic day.
No, you did not.
I did.
How come nobody ever told me that after all these years?
I did. But my friend Kim Roy, this is back in like the 90s.
I'm gonna have to go and have my attorney contact you. I copyrighted that a long time ago. I'm just saying.
Now they have bots that get out there on the internet. No, but I guess So my friend Kim phoned into the show and told you that, and you're like, oh, cool, that's great. Dennis Friel does that, whatever like that. So my name was like said over the radio.
Really
this is back in the 90s. Yeah, it was a long time ago.
Like I said, it was one of my great moments. I remember. No.
Yeah, right.
That's so cool, though.
Yeah, no, it was cool. So every day, have a hectic day, to the point where the teachers were walking by me every day. Hey, have a hectic day. I'm
so you two were basically school announcers, huh?
Yeah,
I guess so.
I used to imitate. You grew up here.
Yeah.
Remember WSHE? She's only rock and roll. So when I was in high school in '78, I graduated in Lake Worth. I used to listen to the DJs in the morning with their cool voices because of the '70s. It wasn't really talk radio like we do. It was like. WSHE, Fort Lauderdale, Miami. They were the cool guys. So I would do my morning announcements with that ridiculous voice. And all my buddies knew what I was doing. Yeah. They were like, you're doing the She Guys. And then it turns out the day I got a job at WSHE was a pretty cool day.
Yeah, she's only rock and roll.
Yeah, I mean, I walked in the hallway and I remember thinking, God, I'm going to WSHE for a job interview. This is the great. If I don't get it, it was in a trailer. WSHE was in a trailer park. Yeah, in Davie. I swear, all these rock stars, you hear this thing, you don't know where it's coming from, Right. It's amazing. And look, we're doing a show in a cool art store, art shop and clothing store, so it doesn't really, no one knows where we are.
No, well, they do. We're being filmed.
We're on footage. Yeah.
Well, we like it that way.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hey, this is kind of like, and you kind of alluded to, when you come here, you feel like you're home and cozy. That's really what we're kind of going for. That's just kind of how I roll. I'm not a complicated guy. I just really like to. Everyone just come, drink some rum, have a good time, and feel like they're home and have a good conversation about fishing.
And the way the pictures are aligned, it's just the right colors, and the feeling you get when you come in here makes you want to pull your wallet out and spend some money.
I was just going to say, I want to shop. Yeah.
We can open up the register after this.
I don't want to shop that bad.
So, I'm in here with a couple of guys that like to talk fishing, right? I'm going to try not to talk about work, though. But that's talking about work for you.
That's my
right?
pleasure.
Yeah. But I have to say that I have not been nervous. This is episode 76. And just, I'm letting the cat out of the bag a little bit. I haven't been nervous for any podcast yet until now.
Really?
Yep.
Well, because if you say the wrong thing to him, he storms off. He just leaves.
Around, I'm like, God, Paul Castronovo's coming in. I'm going to sound like an idiot. Like, yeah.
But we're like, I try to make people feel comfortable. I tell you, I can appreciate where you're coming from because the first time I interviewed Steve Spurrier, I thought I was going to crap myself.
Oh, I bet.
I was growing up a big Gator football fan, and it was in the '90s, and he was a superstar and intimidating character. And he walked into our studio. I was a wreck. I interviewed Tom Cruise. I was fine, and all these other people. Right. But Steve Spurrier got me, so I can appreciate that.
That's the thing.
But then again, I'd like to think that you've listened to me all these years, and if you have, I'm one of your friends.
Yes.
So yes. Hopefully it's disarming, but I know I've talked to people that I called into your show. I was so nervous, and I'm thinking, why? But once you hear someone say you're on the air, it's like, what?
Well, that's the thing. It's like I do this show for a good time, right? And for fun and everything like that. I'm an artist first. You know what I mean? I'm not, artist, fisherman, whatever you want to call it. You know what I mean? I'm definitely an artist first, though. And this is like a fun thing I do, right? And I really enjoy it. And I really, I'm a dad. I got a 7-year-old and a 10-year-old, and I don't get much time for myself. This is kind of like my excuse for bringing my friends in and make them drink with me.
Oh, what a drag.
This is really, really why I do the show. And Maya recognized this, so he goes, "Oh, let me just give you some rum," and there we go. But yeah, so that's really my thing. But I'm kind of in your world today, and it's pretty like you said, disarming, but it's an honor. Really.
So did you? Like me, I grew up and I was in South Florida and surfing and fishing and boating. It was what we just kind of gravitated to. Maybe I was lucky because we lived in East Lake Worth, and because I don't know if the kids growing up, you grew up in Coral Springs, unless mom drove you to the beach. What were you doing?
Yeah, that's it. We were bass fishing.
Yeah, okay.
That's right. Yeah, good.
A lot of bass fishing.
Great bass.
But did you guys did you grow up with that one guy that no matter what you did, he could outfish you? Like we had this one kid, and he always went to the pier and caught more snook than everybody else. There's some people that just have, I don't know if it's a knack.
What is a knack? I really do believe that. And I think we might have had that conversation when we had Debbie Hansen in here. And I was describing her, I think, to you, and saying how some people have a knack. Now, Debbie Hansen, she's, freshwater and very light salt water on the West Coast, Fort Myers. And she tours with us with a national seminar series, does a very good job. And when I knew that a lot of this is innate, is about 2 seasons ago or 3 seasons, I decided, let me take her to Treasure Cay, and I'm going to take her out of her element. We're going to do an offshore show together. So we've got the whole production team, and we shot a show. And her never really been in the big game or the hand crank deep dropping. When she hooked the fish, like dolphin, the white marlin she caught.
I remember that episode, yeah.
Done this before, but you see the knack pick in, the ability to fight, and that rhythm breaks out. And you just watch this. So this is a person who has an innate genetic kind of thing that she's disposed to. And I believe in a lot of cases, like you were just talking about, that are people that actually have it. You could take somebody who loves fishing and show them how to do it, and they could get good at it. But the real great ones have something more that's inside. I think it's a genetic kind of a thing. I really do believe it, because you pick the rhythm up and you adapt, and it just flows across the board. That's, again, I could be a Dr. Frankenstein here, but I don't think so. I think.
Can I mention one of your competitors?
Yeah, absolutely.
Guy Harvey. Okay, so I had the opportunity to fish with Guy in Panama one time, and someone said to me, they go, "You never been on a boat with him before?" I'm like, "Nah." He's one of those guys. I guess maybe it's the marine biology in him, but he sees the water differently than everybody else. And I remember sitting there, I learned a lot. And he was like, look at this over here and look at that over there. I think we're going to see an edge, and there's a marlin going to come in. Now, so he's one of those guys that has that innate ability to, how do you like the way I got the plug in for somebody else?
Yeah, it was good. That was good.
Let's bring up Howard Stern now.
He edits the whole thing. We're just going to cut that part. Right? It's fine. No, you listen. A guy like that, you know what I mean, and others, there's always John Carroll Doyle, and Don Ray is really one of my favorites, right? And again, it's an honor to call him friend at this point in my life. But these are all guys that I grew up, you know what I mean, looking at their work, and have been inspirations for me. So yeah, of course you can mention Guy Harvey on the show, absolutely. But even if you look at, you asked, like, where did, unless your mom dropped you off at the beach all day, which she would all the time, right here.
Which is what my mom did too, by the way.
Yeah, this is the beach, like right here. Yeah. We talk about that. When I was 17 years old, I don't know if you remember a place called the Wild Fish Collection, the art gallery right in the area. It was right up here in the sands, and then they moved across the bridge over there for a little bit. Yeah. When I was like 17, 18 years old, I would have my work hung in this gallery right alongside those guys. And to me, I was like, starstruck, and I was doing some work with the IGFA, and at 19 years old, the first 2 commissions I sold of my fish paintings were to Tread Barta, right? So so like these were like, that's the kind of the time I grew up in. So no, for sure. There are steps along the way of everyone's journey and everyone's path, and people you meet along the way that are meaningful.
You're making a living as an artist. You know how many people are not doing that? I mean, it really, we're very lucky to do things and get paid for stuff that we like to do. For me to sit around and make a living cracking up with my friends in the morning for 4 hours a day, it's like, you're paying me for this? Don't tell them I said that.
Absolutely. So we just had Andy Moyes in here about a half an hour ago. He was here before you guys showed up, and the guy's one of the best marlin fishermen on the planet. And he makes his lures that just, marlin killing lures, really, they just can't get away from them. And that's one of those guys that you're talking about that really just, there's a story that Andy's sister told me, 'cause I'm friends with her as well, about how he was in the Bahamas and they were kids. And there was, what kind of fish was that? Was it a tarpon, or was it that he jumped in the water?
I don't remember what it was.
It was a fish that was right there at the dock, and it just wouldn't bite. So finally, he just threw the rod down and he jumped in the water. Well, it might have been a mutton. It was a mutton. He just jumped in the water, and he actually caught the fish with his hands.
Oh.
Right.
Bouncer. Wouldn't you say Bouncer's one of those people?
Well, I would, and I sort of put my foot in my mouth a couple times, but what I've said this before about Bouncer. When you look at charter captains in the Miami area, he is without a doubt, in my opinion, the number one charter captain, because he specializes in everything from sea trout in Biscayne Bay the tarpon to the inlet for snook, the bottom fishing, the live baiting, the daytime. So he does it all. Where a lot of these other top captains, they're like one-trick ponies. They're good at live baiting sales, or they're good at doing this. They're just maybe okay at the other stuff. But when you look at him, he had perfected every single fishery in Miami. And so when you look at such a broad area of accomplishments, that's why I always say when a whole book is written on charter captains, that is in Miami, Florida, there's only one name that's going to be on top of the list, and that's Bouncer, because of the wide swath of his expertise.
Yeah, that's a good point. And actually, a funny thing about Bouncer is he commented on the whole questions thread last night, and he goes, "What's connected by water?" And it's like, it's my company, it's my podcast. You're going to come on the show, Bouncer. He says, "Okay, I'll come on."
Yeah, all you got to do is ask, and he'll drive down.
Yeah,
from Georgia. He's ready to get out of Georgia at any minute.
Oh, that's right. After he retired, he moved up there. I forgot he moved.
We did the seminar series filming, which John was part of as far the crew. And I told Bouncer that because of the COVID year, the ground tour was canceled. But what we had done, and this was a good 4 or 5 months into planning as the backup, if we had to pull the plug on the ground tour, that we would come out with a out-of-the-box alternative. And the out-of-the-box alternative, when we pushed it forward, was a television series, 13-week, half-hour television series that starts in April called the National Seminar Series. So this is year 34 for the tour.
Wow.
And it will be 13 weekly episodes. So we handpicked.
Year 34.
Year 34.
You've only done the TV show 22 years.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
So the series started before that with the magazine.
That is correct. So this is year 34 for the tour. So
you started doing the show when you were 5?
Actually, it was 4, but I had a note from my parents to do this. Perfect. But so I called Bouncer because I know he was in Marietta and he comes down occasionally. I said, "Bouncer, are you going to be down in Miami?" I gave him these dates. No, why? And I said, "Well, I just thought if you were down here," and I told him what we're doing is I'll drive him for that. I said, "I'll put you up. You come on down." So he came down, was part of our faculty. We handpicked 13 faculty members that I thought could go across the board and really gel and do the best job for this series. And so Bouncer was part of it. And we shot it for 2 days straight at the IGFA. And as I mentioned, John was part of the camera team. And what a spectacular production. We're getting ready to send the first episode to the networks next Monday. And when you see this thing, it is something like, in Saltwater Sportsman says they're watching so far. They're saying we are going to do this again next year in addition to the road tour. So now we got a road tour, and then now you're going to have a televised version. But that whole thing got weirded out.
Necessity is the mother of all invention, right?
It is, because I had this TV idea for the seminar series for a long time. I just didn't have the time on my schedule to try it. So then the virus kicked it out, and so we had to stop or postpone the tour. And so that gave the opportunity to try something that I've had this idea for a long time. And it was magnificent. So sometimes, things look like horrible. There's always that little bit of a silver lining somewhere. And this gave birth to the television version, which was, this would not have happened had everything okay and we continued on with the road tour.
Yeah, it's great. I love hearing positive COVID stories. If you could really put the word positive and COVID in the same sentence, I don't know, but
I can tell you one. It happened when it happened last year, March and April. I found my son home from college, and he was like, "This is the worst thing ever." And I found myself with nowhere to go, and they shut down the boat ramps, and no one could boat. But I'm one of those lucky few that have the boat in the backyard, and I checked. Law enforcement was like, "Yeah, you can use your boat." It's like, why can't these other poor people use their boats? But there was nobody fishing.
I remember that.
And there was a lot of fish. And my son and I just catching bait together, catching blackfins left and right. And it was the only silver line. The water was even different. If you recall at the beginning,
the water cleared up fast.
All the boats churning up, and it was a much cleaner deal.
Louis Aguirre over at Channel 10 did a great story on what the bay and how it was looking and the water on the beach, because it just seemed different. And it was even in Venice, Italy. They'd stopped the gondolas and everything, and the water in Venice there were pods of dolphins swimming through. So we definitely can be our own worst enemies when it comes to taking care of our water here. I mean, that was the only silver lining that I saw at the beginning of that. But I did see a lot of life. There were turtles everywhere. It was an interesting time, and we're coming up on the anniversary of that. I wonder if the fishing will be as good this year.
There's been a lot of people since out there, more so than I can remember in even recent times. So you're seeing a heck of a lot more pressure than you've seen at other points. And that was, again, you talk about it like a silver lining again in a weird way, was you would think in a normal situation when things got bad like that, that our industry, which is basically an entertainment industry, is the first one to get chopped off from people's discretionary budgets. It's the last one to come back online. But because of the social distancing, now all of a sudden the boating was the deal. Boat sales are through the roof, motor sales, tackle sales. All of a sudden, our marine industry, which is a recreational driven deal, surged. It's
unreal.
Weird.
Yeah,
it went through the roof. Never, ever.
Well, I guess I tried to figure this out. Like, I talked to people that bought boats, and the guys at Riva Motorsports sold out. They sold all their wave runners. They're like, what?
That's crazy.
Well, nobody was traveling. No one was going to restaurants. No one was going anywhere. Well, we want to spend our money, darn it.
Right, yeah. So you got the theory on they want to spend their PPP money, right?
Well, that's what I realized that because, you look at the caliber, but all the boats were moving. But the big caliber were those big centers from your 30s into the 40s, the triples, the quads, and those were the ones that were moving. And I had jokingly said,
1.2.
Yeah, where's the money coming from?
Yep. And I'm a Miami native, okay? So, I'm not blind to what happens down here. So I made that joke. I said, man, there must be a hell of a lot more drug smugglers than I ever thought in this area here. But then you put two and two together, it was PPP money that was coming out. And I know people who had got big chunks and their company was still doing well. So they had found money and then bam, 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 it was going out on the boats.
Or you can look at it this way. In 2 years, we'll be able to buy really cheap sport fishing.
That's my theory, right? A lot of people don't know what they're getting themselves into, and
you just hope it holds. And
my wife said something to me the other day. She goes, I missed boating with you, and we used to do it all the time. I go, why do you hate my boat? She goes, there's no bathroom on it.
Oh yeah. There's a bucket though.
That's not going to happen. No. Yeah, she's she's not going to happen. But
my wife's like that too, where she's like, whatever we got's got to have a bathroom.
I got a center console. I used to have I've had nothing but contenders over the years, and I had the 35 side console, which was really a great boat, and had a little when the kids were growing up, air conditioned cabin, and just a tiny little cuddy in the front, but it had that nice bathroom with the shower and a little refrigerator, and you'd fish all day, especially anchored up in the Bahamas where it's hot.
Yeah.
You go in that AC for 15 minutes. It was the greatest thing ever. But then, my son got old enough. He's like, we're going to fish all the tournaments. We need a center console. So I ended up getting a 36 center console contender. And, it's a ridiculously great boat. Mm-hmm. The wife hates it.
Yeah.
I have friends saying, that's great. She doesn't want to be on your boat. I'm like, but
where are we going to keep the wine?
Yeah, I actually enjoy, her on the boat. But we definitely don't do as much of that intercoastal cruising party stuff on that boat because it's not made for that. Yeah.
That's right. Harris has got that 48 Intrepid.
Ooh.
And he calls that, it's a beautiful boat. But he calls it the wife's boat. Mm-hmm. Right. He's like, this is Corinda's boat. This is, whatever. And I think they just took the new, 45 out, the CV, that new 45 CV they just built out for a spin because his buddy Jeff just bought hole number 2 because Ariel's got hole number 1. And I think now he's starting to get a little twinkle in his eye that he wants to get, because he's got the 34 CV down at this place in Tavernier, but I think he wants that 45
I just saw
now.
The big one at the Sailfish tournament in Palm Beach. I saw Ariel on it thing. Oh, I'm walking by this boat going,
it's pretty.
It looked like a Hydra Sports, like one of those big giant Hydras. And I go, and I see Ariel. I go, wait a minute. And we said hi. And how come you're never going to buy one of my boats? I could afford that boat.
I mean, look where it's all, where it's come to. It's like amazing when you look at the size of the boats and the power that the outboards are generating for these boats. And Mercury came out with a 600 horsepower.
Boys at Mercury just came out with
on top of the ball game, and
the thing just right at the
and a 2-speed transmission.
Yeah.
But I will say, recently, a few weeks back, I was invited to fish in this Sailfish tournament on the Debatable. Mike Walsh's 75-foot. It's game changer. These guys that fish like that. I just sat back and marveled. They had 3 mates, and they had thousands of gogs, but even more impressive, all right, it's 8 o'clock. Let's have stone crabs. And one door opens up and there's stone crabs. Another one, there's bottles of Papa's Pilar lined up. He presses a button. The TV comes out. I'm thinking, yeah, I've been fishing really wrong for many years.
Yeah. You open up my cooler and you got some Subway subs in there.
Right. Make your own, right? Yeah. Hey, who's making sandwiches before we leave?
It was really an eye-opening experience to see how some people really, but they fish just as hard.
Just as hard.
You know, I mean, they're a lot more. You get off the boat at the end of the day, and that was the difference. I didn't need a nap.
Yeah. That is the difference. I mean, that's the boat I'm fishing on for the Jimmy Johnson this week.
Beetle?
I'm fishing on the Bayless, on the 68 Bayless with the Singularis program, and that's that's a classy way to go. I mean, they drink the Vouv champagne all day on that thing. But we had Team Native Son on last week. You know, Art Sapp and Mike Lamb, and they got the whole CV and Merit combo deal with their team, and it was a 2-day tournament for the Sailfish Challenge, which they won. And they took the CV out for the first day, and then the second day is getting a little rougher. They're like, oh, let's jump on the Merit, because they pre-registered both boats under their team.
Of course.
Right? That Merit is just stunning, right? It's a 98, and it's a 58 Merit, and it looks like it just came off the line. I mean,
did they put a Seakeeper in that thing?
I don't think so. I don't think they need to. That thing's so dang heavy. I mean, it displaces so much water, but that's another way too. That's a completely different kind of fishing. You know what I mean?
Thing.
And you're right. When you go out all day, you definitely don't feel banged up like you do on the center console.
Oh, yeah. I remember fishing the Pompano Rodeo all those years. I really cut my teeth in fishing that tournament. And, it was that 2-day deal. That second day, you get up after, you fish the whole day, you drink a bunch afterwards because you're in your 20s and 30s. You don't care. And you clean the boat, you clean the fish, you eat something. And then it's like, we got to get up at 4 and go catch bait. You just felt like someone hit you with a bat. But that's what you love about it. I mean, that's all part of the whole thing.
It's all part of it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. But you don't fish a lot of tournaments, George, do you?
I'll tell you what. Here's the whole deal with that. I used to fish before I get reeled in by saltwater sportsmen, the Mako owner tournaments back in the day, which they were totally unlike what you have in recent times, where it's just, fundament, this and that. It was an enjoyable deal. They had a circuit, but you had these hardcore anglers. There was like a nucleus of us that would travel. And I used to trailer to Destin. I had about 7 or 8 of them a year. And we did very, very well with that. Won the Angler of the Year title 4 out of the 6 years I did that. Then I came aboard with Saltwater Sportsman. And Rip Cunningham, the publisher, sat me down. And he says, I know you do a lot of the tournaments and all. He says, but I want to just tell you something. You could do what you want. When you're with Saltwater Sportsman now, that your job is to educate our readers, not compete against them. Now, he goes, it's a no-win situation if you do tournaments. If you compete in tournaments and you don't do well, they said, what's he know? He's right for saltwater. He's not doing it. But if you win, he's a pro. That's unfair. So he said, your job now is to educate anglers on the sport of fishing. So I got out a tournament deal when I came with Saltwater Sportsmen because they advised me.
That makes a lot of sense.
That
You're right.
You should not be in that and competing with the readers you're educating.
And you're right. You can't win. If you lose, you win. If you lose, if you win, isn't that from Raging Bull? If you win, you win. If you lose, you still win. I love it.
Yep.
So, you've caught fish all over the world. You've fished everywhere. Your best fish. Do you remember it?
See, having him on the show makes it easy for me to
serve.
You're making
drinks.
Bartender now.
I'm watching you
Paul,
make cocktails.
You got to come on more often. This is fantastic.
Dude, I will be your co-host if you want.
I love it.
He's like the bartender. I just want you to know he's a terrible tipper.
That's okay. That's okay. He's working for it. I like
he
it.
just said I was a terrible tipple. So
I did. That's not too much on the Paul already.
This is outstanding, Paul. I'm just going to say here you go.
Going back to your question.
Your best fish. You have one fish that you remember.
It is. It's difficult because there's too many variables involved. Because, and yes, between what I've done with Saltwater Sportsmen to travel all over the world and fish, and what we do with the TV and everywhere, I could still come back to my very first sailfish that I caught with my dad on the boat. I was always the sentimental plays such a huge one. But if you take sentimental out of it, there have been a number of them. I would guess the 143-pound wahoo.
I remember that fish. Whoa, and yeah, we've all got to watch him catch all his great fish.
Would definitely be there.
Yeah.
We got an 800 and some odd pound blue marlin down in Costa Rica a number of years ago. That was another one. 700 some pound bluefin. Take the sentimental out. I don't know. The wahoo would have to be somewhere in that mix.
I know where you're coming from. Well, how do you know? You're never going to catch a wahoo like that ever again. You may catch it.
Okay, there's a funny story to that.
All right.
We got it was 143 pound, 6 ounce wahoo, but who's really keeping tight score?
Right. Cayman Islands, right? Grand Cayman.
No, it was actually over in the Bahamas, San Salvador.
Oh, San Salvador. Okay.
And so we were doing a show, and how great was that to actually have that fish on the show? So fast forward, I said, I'm never going to come back to San Salvador. Why do I need to come back here and get for wahoo? What are the odds of me even catching one like that? So I avoided it. And I had another friend with a big boat saying, come on down. We're going to be in San Sal. Jump on board. Let's do a show. And I said, I don't want to because I'm not going to top that 143 pound wahoo. He said, let's go in the spring. They get a hell of a run of yellowfin tuna and gnat, and they get a blue marlin. I said, okay, I could do a tuna deal. So we had gone later. And we got yellowfins, we got sailfish, we got big dolphin. And we're trolling back to the marina with the high speeds out on the final day. I mean, a heck of a show, more fish than we could even handle. And all of a sudden, bam, that lure just starts smoking. So I get on the fish and fighting it. It's going straight down. And I'm telling, the captain, so it's about 100-pound marlin, I'm thinking. It's fighting like a blue. Oh, I think you got a tuna. So we're having a debate. So marlin, tuna.
Everybody does this on the boat, by the way.
Right.
So we're fighting, and it was staying straight down that we, by the time that we finally were able to get a look at it, it's another huge wahoo.
See, in my case, it's usually a bonita.
Yeah, it's always a bonita. Me too.
So we gaffed it, and it's a 113-pound wahoo.
Wow.
And it hit a marlin lure, rigged on monofilament, and just got lucky with the deal. So the 2 trips that I had done to San Salvador, 2 times, wahoo over 100 pounds. I mean, if they have a lotto there, I'd like to play it. I could have retired a long time ago with that.
I think about this question that I asked you. And you're right. Sentimentality. My first sailfish in Cancun with all my friends. The Stairway to Heaven was playing on the boat. We had girls. I mean, it was just one of those great moments. But I also caught a big black. I caught a big black marlin, a 450 pounder.
Nice.
And seeing that thing for the first time was a moment that I'll never forget. Well, my friends, I didn't catch a wahoo until I was like 28 years old. And my friends had all caught their first wahoo. And it was really a point of, well, come on, Castronovo, you're never going to catch one. We were on a cruise ship. I was there with my wife, and we were in Bermuda. And I said, we met another couple. How about we charter a boat and do some fishing? Somehow my wife, she wasn't my wife at the time. She agreed. We go on a boat. And it's nasty and it's rough and everybody's hating life. And we're wahoo fishing. Nothing. I go, do me a favor. Can you take us to the lee side of the island so we can just drink and carry on? Turn to the lee side. He goes, the fishing's not as good over here, man. The fishing's not nearly as good, man. But I go, I don't care. The wives are sick. Everybody's throwing up. So as soon as we turn the corner, boom, rod goes, zzz, and the guy goes, it's a kingfish, man. It's a kingfish. I go, kingfish, you take it, bro.
Oh, no.
Well, it's a kingfish.
I know where the Indians go with this.
Yes, you do. And I'm about to drink this whole bottle thinking about this memory. And he reels it in and he gaffs it. He goes, this is a nice kingfish, man. I go, no, that's a wahoo. And I gave him the rod. Apparently in Bermuda, they call them kingfish.
Well, how big was it first?
Yeah. It was a 40-pounder. Yeah.
Okay. Don't kill yourself over that.
No, it would have been my first wahoo.
If it was like 180, then for sure. But hey, I know where you're coming from.
But anyway, they called it a kingfish, and I thought it was a wahoo. But I guess in different parts of the Caribbean, they call it whatever.
Yeah.
But that day turned out amazing because we got done, we caught the fish. This guy pulled up to the most beautiful. I don't know if you've ever seen Bermuda. Mm-hmm. But Bermuda is gorgeous. Like palm trees, white sand beach. We swam in. They cooked the fish for us. They brought it to us on plates. And it was like, that was a good day. That was a good day.
That's a good trip.
That was a good day.
Trip.
Yeah.
Do you find that strange when like other places name fish different things like that? You know, like some people call it the same thing as you do in other places.
Keeps you on your toes.
Yeah, keeps you on your toes a little bit, right?
The places.
You know what else is strange?
Yeah. Oh, no, the questions.
I got you. I got you again. That's my segue.
All right.
That's my segue to our strange questions that people write in. If I don't do it that way, then I'll always forget to do it. So people write in questions they want us to ask them, and we pick a question at the end. They win a T-shirt. It's not really complicated.
So it's a segment called Ask George?
No, it's called the Papa's Pilar Strange Questions.
Oh.
Yes.
So
I may adopt this for my show.
They remind you never to be a spectator. So
yes,
we're trying not to be a spectator. We're trying to
live
get
life.
people involved in the show, right? So I do want to say one thing before we start our strange questions that Justin did enter the room. Did you bring a present for us today, Justin? Yeah, can you bring that out there? We just want to have that out on the table for our
and
strange
the young
questions
man
segment.
over there who looks like a cool kid.
And Cooper. Hey, Cooper, you want to be on the show real quick? Cooper, come on, be on the show here.
I have that very bag.
Thank you, Cooper.
Bring it over. Right there you go, buddy.
That very bag in my boat at all times.
Same over here.
I told you to bring the big one, Justin. I told you to bring the big one. How come you didn't bring the big one?
That looks like that came from the IGFA about 2 weeks ago.
Never put that in front of my face when I'm on camera. Thank you.
All disappeared.
Wait a minute. All that bag for this?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's important. You got to keep a cushion.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. So
if you don't have an EPIRB, what are you doing? And I
100% with you. I don't know why it's not mandatory for every single boat manufacturer to have an EPIRB when those things come out.
That should be done that way. They should cut a deal with ACR or whatever. But people call me. I just bought my son a boat. He's 20 years old, and what do you think he needs? I said the first thing he needs is an EPIRB, and then the second thing he needs is a sat phone.
Right. Right. Absolutely. They say it's the science of survival, right?
He's calling you.
Just calling me.
I was trying to get you to pull it over.
Oh, you want to pull it over?
I thought he was trying to tell you what to activate it and see the Coast Guard and everybody.
He's got a mic and he doesn't want to talk to me. Right?
Trying to make it seamless.
That's okay. It is seamless.
Is it blocking me at all? Anyway, okay. It's my contract.
All right. So listen, we got some questions lined up for you guys here. So the first one comes from our good friend Alexa Lanier, right? And she wants to really kind of ask you, Paul.
Yes.
Do you remember well, I'm sure you do, but she wants to ask about the TV show you hosted in the 90s called The Scene.
Yes.
Right? And that she was the intern that you used to call Al, right? Because her name was Alexa.
I don't like bring up interns in the 90s. Okay.
The only reason I bring that up is because our good buddy Brent had a smart aleck comment. And he says, well, if you wanted her to call you out, you should have demanded that you're able to call.
You should text
Paul
him
Betty.
back, tell him he should be selling homes, not interfering with
I didn't even ask his question.
I was co-host of a TV show. It aired on CBS called The Scene with Jennifer Gould, who is now she's been a news anchor in California and LA for many, many years. And it was like an entertainment-based show. Like, hey, we're on The Scene in Fort Lauderdale and Miami, and we're at the grand opening of this thing. And, then I think...
like a Deco Drive kind of thing?
Yeah, pre-Deco Drive. Yeah,
okay.
They just didn't keep going with it, but it could have been something. But
yeah.
I think I don't know. I don't know what happened to the show. It just fizzled. I think I got 4 years out of it.
Oh.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Yeah, there you go.
And then I went to Channel 10 after that, and I hosted a Sports Jam Live with Jimmy Cephalo, and I did that for a few years. I did a little TV in the market, didn't I?
Yeah, nice.
Then I got fat. It threw me off TV.
You know
what happened there?
I'm actually going to mention one of your competitors now.
Please.
So, Dan Lebitard.
One of my good buddies.
Right. So he always says that he just loves radio so much more than TV because it's more of a free format.
Yeah.
And you can pretty much say whatever you want for the most part, right? And rather than TV, it's so scripted. And so this is why I love this show here, like doing the podcast. We're say whatever you want. Do whatever you want. I mean, it doesn't matter.
Sure, you're right.
I don't have to worry about, you know what I mean? I got Joey Accardi behind me and I got Papa's Pilar behind me. I mean,
yeah, that's very
say
cool.
whatever I want. You know what I mean? Those guys are like,
and I'm your new
thing.
Co-host, according to what we just said a few minutes ago.
Absolutely.
I have it on tape.
So we've already got, I've got my interns in the back already drawing up the contract. So.
Again, with the interns.
Yeah. The next question comes from my wife, and it's for George. And she says, George, can you please stop sending my husband home drunk after your podcast? At that point, you can have him.
Well, obviously, she doesn't know what a bad influence you really are, so you have her fooled.
No, it's George. So you can blame everything on George.
I'm here trying to be the gentleman, Paul. So let me set the scenario up. It's okay. His 10 o'clock in the morning deal, to me, that's a donut and a Starbucks moment, right? So to be a gentleman, I would bring over a bottle of Papa's Pilar as a courtesy for having me on the show, and then he could over the weekend, whatever.
But he would just open it immediately.
Well, not immediately. It was never immediate. It took about 25 minutes to do it, but then we got him good at it. So every time I would come in,
like 2 minutes.
I would bring him as a courtesy, but he somehow felt that was on the breakfast menu. And so we had to suffer through 10 o'clock in the morning with the Pilar. So tell your wife to call me. I'll explain it to her on the phone.
George was always early. George
I'm always early.
Holding two bottles of rum,
Listen,
saying, "You ready?"
I will say this: I've had a lot of sponsors. I've been on the radio for a long time, and if you don't use the product, then how can you be real with your sponsor? And I hate to turn down money, believe me, and I don't do it often. But there are some. They come to me, hey, Paul, there's an idea. We'd like you to do commercials for this company. I'm like, we're never going to use that. I don't want that. But Papa's Pilar rum, yeah, you have to use the product.
We were already doing this.
Yeah,
we were already drinking Pilar on every show, and then Mike called me. He's like, "Hey, since you were already doing this, here you go."
I met.
He started sending us cases of rum.
The guy who started the company, Steve Groth. I'm sure you know Steve.
Yeah.
So he's texting me right now. He doesn't know I'm here, but he lives next door in the Keys. He's got a house in the Keys. Lives next door to a good friend of mine. I didn't know this. So my neighbor in the Keys goes, "This is my neighbor Steve," and we start talking and. He says his name is Steve Groth, and I go, "Oh yeah, I went to college with a girl named Barbara Groth." He goes, "Yeah, that's my sister." I go, "You got to be kidding me!" I go, "She used to do radio with me." He goes, "Yeah," and so then I go, "What do you do?" He goes, "I own a rum company." I go, "We should talk."
We're friends.
And I said, I sure would like to be the guy to talk about your rum on the radio, and I don't know anybody, because I really love this product and tie in with the Ernest Hemingway and the fishing, and so he and I became fast friends and. Turned into I
got a good story about him too.
Good. I'd like to hear it.
How my relationship started with Papa's Pilar during the Mako Funaments that they would do. Bass Pro would call, said, "Okay, we're going to have a representative from Papa's Pilar doing the tasting at the docks." Oh, great. So then Mako called me up and said that Papa's Pilar, we were talking to them that they need to talk to you about getting involved in your TV show. So they gave me a name. Which was his son. And so I called it, and his son set up a meeting up in Delray. So I come up, we meet at a coffee shop. So we're sitting out having a cup of coffee, and we're talking. He goes, "Well, my CEO is going to be here in about 10, 15 minutes. He wants to hear the conversation and talk about this too." So great. So I'm thinking, wow. I said, you definitely got a shot at selling a sponsorship when the CEO is going to come in on the meeting. So he tells me about 3 minutes before he shows up, "It's my dad." So here comes Steven to the table. "How you doing, George?" And we talk close to an hour on fishing, the people we know, marathon, the whole bit. And it's all we talked about, what he used to do with Celador concerts, the whole bit.
Interesting guy.
Never once addressed the sponsorship issue. Then he says, "Hey," he goes, "Okay, what are you looking for here to do the sponsorship?" I told him, "Sign me the contract. I'll sign off on a deal." It was like the funniest story.
Because he knew right then that you guys already, you bridge that and you put it together.
That's the best relationships for him. I mean, you guys found out you were connected by water, right?
Well, and I told him too.
What a great name, Connected by Water. I love it.
That's the whole notion, that idea behind that. Everything we just talked
about. Took me a minute, like an hour and about 6 drinks. Yeah.
But that was just a cool relationship, and then the connection when he was with Celador concerts. You remember everything back in the day with the concerts. You had to go through Celador.
You're talking to me. That's my business.
I know. So I'm telling him. I said, "So I spent how much money I spent with you for those concerts, and now I'm just starting to get some of that back now through this deal."
Nice.
I used to get all those free concert tickets.
I used to too. I used to work in the music industry.
But now they don't do free tickets anymore.
No, not really.
Nobody. You don't get, unless you're doing a giveaway and someone doesn't pick them up. I'll go, "Oh, they got in pick."
Yeah.
But mostly, they don't. They can't. The money's just too big now. I mean, we're talking, in the 90s and the 80s, the tickets were $20.
Right.
Now it's $100 to go see a show. I mean, if we get to see a show ever again.
My best concert experience really is, it would actually happen not that long ago. I used to work in the music industry for 17 years. I was a creative director for Alliance Entertainment, the world's largest distributor of physical media, right? You have product in your house that came out of our warehouse, I guarantee.
Well, I'm sure.
We were the world's largest at it, right? Anyway, the fringe benefit to that was that we would get all these concert tickets. Our relationships were directly with all the record labels, Universal, Warner, Sony, the whole 9 yards, and we would be responsible for getting all the product out to mass media, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, whatever, wherever you bought CDs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so Jenny, who works here for me now, I don't know if she's still here or not, but she probably took off. She goes, "Oh, we got Aldine tickets, right?" This is after I had left the job. I'm like, "Oh, great, right?" And it's my anniversary for my wife, and I said, she knows that's my wife's favorite. So I'm like, "All right, cool." She's like, "We got backstage, right?" And I'm thinking meet and greet. She goes, "Yeah, we got the meet and greet." I'm like, "All right, cool." So we go there, and the person comes out from the label, and they're like, "All right, you guys ready?" And it was supposed to be just them two, and then the lady goes, "No, you can come too." I'm like, "All right, cool." So I go back, and we're passing the meet and greet, and we're like, "Hey, that's." No, come on, let's go like that. And we get walked into a trailer, and it's Aldine's trailer. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. There's all silver Coors Light plates all over the place,
Nice.
and the whole thing like that. And they're like, "Hey, Jason will be here in a few minutes." And we sit down. Sure enough, Aldine walks in and hangs out with us for like 15 minutes before the show. Like no agenda, no nothing like that. We're
nice?
talking about
That
each other's
is.
bags,
Regular guy.
Yeah. Talking about how he plays basketball every day with the crew. That was just the rest of the night was just,
A bonus.
icing on the
I
cake.
think about, people always ask me, what's the best show you ever went to? We got being in radio for 1,000 years. I just have to pinpoint it to one, the Rolling Stones in Berlin at Olympic Stadium.
Okay.
Just because of the experience. And I'll tell you a quick story about that.
Mm-hmm.
You may have heard it on my show, but it's a good story. We were sponsored by Michelob. And so they flew us over, and a bunch of radio personalities from around the country to do a broadcast culminating with a Rolling Stones show. The band Big Country opened for, remember Big Country?
Yes, I do.
They had a hit song called In a Big Country.
Yep. The song and the band said,
So
it was their only song, wasn't it?
And that was on their greatest hits album. One song.
That's so true. That was total one-hit wonder. But they bus us to the stadium, and they go, all right, so you'll see a bunch of beer tents lined up all around. In Germany, their beer is very popular there. I don't know if you heard. And they go, you guys get all the free Michelob you want because of your wristband at the Michelob tent. I'm like, well, where's the Michelob tent? Just walk around the stadium, you'll find it. So we start walking, and there's thousands of people everywhere. The beer tents are mobbed, except one. The Michelob tent was empty.
Oh.
What is this? We don't drink that. We don't drink that. And the Germans would just drink the beer and then just drop the bottle on the ground and keep walking. I mean, there were bottles piled up everywhere, but I tried all of them, and I had a few.
They just dropped the bottles?
Just dropped the bottles. We're like, I remember a vision of bottles of glass piled up everywhere. I'm like, boy, if this was the States, people would be smashing each other in the heads with them. But this is the weird part of the whole thing. They put us in the stadium, and we had really good seats, all the radio personalities from around the world that they put in. And the guy goes, this is Hitler's old box.
No.
Where he watched Jesse Owens in the Olympics with that, all that stuff.
What?
Which he had good seats, but it was a really awkward, weird moment. But I got to see the Stones in Germany. That was, I can't think of a better show. I've seen U2 and Springsteen and everybody else, but
I'll give you, if I had to narrow it down to, the concerts that I used to go to is, again, sentimental plays a big part of it here, is when the Rolling Stones had come, I forgot what year it was, I took my oldest daughter to go see them.
Mm-hmm.
Just because, here you are as a kid riding a bicycle when they were out. It was almost like you're showing this bridge from this one super band when you were a little kid. You're introducing your daughter to it. Then my youngest daughter, Megan, we saw the Stones, not the last time which I saw them, but the time before that I brought her to that concert. So I showed both my daughters the Rolling Stones. It's almost like you're completing a bridge. So I would say they would be my two favorites from the sentimental reason. The best concert that I've been to was, and you might remember this, when the Gusman Concert Hall in downtown Miami, not the one at U of M.
No, Gusman Cultural Center.
Yes, and we used to have concerts.
Jimmy Buffett.
No.
Oh, I'm just checking. Okay.
Come on. Don't even get me going in. But the Little River Band was there, and then Spirit came in. Remember that band, Spirit?
Of course,
Randy,
yeah.
California? Mm-hmm. Well, Jay Ferguson used to be the lead singer of Spirit, and he branched out on his own, and my uncle was a session musician and was part of Jay Ferguson's band. So he was opening up Jay Ferguson as a solo act for Spirit, which was the featured act. So I had gone to the Gusman Concert Hall, watched it. Ferguson was really great. They brought Spirit in, and it was such a mesmerizing deal with Randy, California, that towards the end, these people were up. They're pulling down the drapes. They're starting to tear the place apart. I said, it's time to get out of here. So we got out of there. And that was the last rock concert they ever held at Gusman. It was Spirit. With
So
Spirit opened it up.
Spirit is famous because Led Zeppelin allegedly
That's right, with a lawsuit or
stole
something.
the riff for Stairway to Heaven from the band Spirit, their song Taurus. See, I
Yes.
know a little bit about everything. That means nothing, but
No, it's important if you're in a music.
So, but
and
they
it's
ended up
I,
losing
no,
that.
I never heard that.
They
And I
lost
know a
the-
lot about Zeppelin.
They lost the lawsuit. If you look up the song Taurus by Spirit and you
I'm
play,
going to look that up.
play the intro of that up against Stairway to Heaven,
And I did. What's your thought though on that?
oh, they absolutely inadvertently ripped them off.
I think the word is inadvertently.
Because
Is it like as close to like Vanilla Ice and Bowie close?
It's pretty,
or?
no, it's pretty close.
it's the notes. It's the actual notes.
Yeah.
It's
All
pretty
right.
impressive. But Spirit opened up, or no, Zeppelin opened up for Spirit in like, and they heard it and subconsciously.
really?
Yeah, they lost the lawsuit.
Ugh.
Spirit lost the thing.
And this was recent. This
Yeah,
has been
just-
going
just-
on from
it just ended.
all the way
Yeah.
until recent times.
I mean, I guess Zeppelin's record label is probably better than Spirits at the time. That's
Yeah.
probably why they lost the
a little
lawsuit.
more horsepower with
Yeah.
attorneys there, probably. But they, Spirit was, I thought, was a
Yeah.
remarkable band.
the reason I brought up Buffett is because I went to the only reason I went to go. You scoff at Jimmy Buffett, the guy.
Okay, all right. I'll throw it out there. I'll get a bunch of hate mail, like when I said Bouncer is the #1 captain of Miami. So we'll keep my record going here. When Jimmy Buffett started out, I liked him. I thought there was some pretty good music. Then he got to the point where all these old guys with the flowered shirts and the Corvettes that
Parrotheads?
it was like, come on, this thing just got so. And another one I put in that same category was Billy Joel. When Billy Joel first came
now
out,
we're gonna fight. Let's go.
he was great. But then all of a sudden, he went after the
might need your
the
question here,
popularity and
right about
money, and
now.
I never liked him after that point.
Really?
So I liked the
so
super
if you
early
think-
Billy Joel, but never liked him pretty much after a couple albums.
Yeah, I
there.
love Jimmy Buffett for one reason. He can just strum on his guitar and go, "All right, everybody, come on out here. Let's play a little better. I just really don't say much. I just say scream like this here, and everybody goes, yeah."
and all the flowered shirts.
But he created something that you have people in the middle of Iowa that,
Oh, I agree.
that
I'm not-
travel to the Caribbean because
And I'm not taking
of Jimmy Buffett.
And I'm not taking anything away from that at all. I'm just
Yeah.
saying from a personal standpoint, doesn't gel.
A lot of hit records, man.
I'm
Oh,
gonna
no doubt
have
about it.
to
Not
side
taking
with
anything away
Paulie on
from
this
that.
one.
I know you would. I saw I love to look in your face.
Yeah, I'm going to have to side with Paulie.
So,
Yeah.
John, this is my last Connected by Water podcast.
No,
It's
no,
history
no, no, no.
making.
I will say this, George, I was lucky enough and honored. Really, it was one of my great highlights being able to fish on your be a part of
That's
your.
right. That was.
I did an episode with
same
his-
here too. It was great.
And it was really amazing. But one of my favorite thing about fishing with you was not that we caught fish; it was because the music. We were doing a
We had
little
classic rock.
We
have
were
to be
playing
honest.
classic
Have to
rock,
have
and they were
classic
trying to
rock.
stump me with name that
He's
tune.
good.
And I'm pretty good at it. But I realized that there's a lot of stuff that we have in common. We grew up we're the same age, and we the same era.
You're a little older. Don't put.
I don't think so.
Don't rush me here.
Months. But for whatever reason, I look so much better. Yet you're in television. I don't know what it is. All right, we should probably talk about fishing. I'm sorry.
No,
Let me circle back to
no.
this because
Yeah.
I want to what you just put out there, and the music deal. I'm a classic rock guy.
I was hoping we get on a music topic
good.
today with you
All right.
today.
I'm
by
going
the
to
way.
hold him this because here's a wealth of
I'm
knowledge.
a music nut.
He's
really.
a wealth of knowledge
This is-
sitting
I'm
here,
eating this up.
and he could relate to this. Is the reason I'm such a classic rock guy because as a kid growing up, my mother's brother, my uncle, as I told you, he was in a rock band, and he was in a big South Florida band in the late 60s called the Bird Watchers. I don't know if you remember that. They had the hit Girl, I Got News for You. And they were
I missed those
big
guys, sorry.
for a while. I was in elementary school when this was going on, but I remember before they would go on
He was
tour,
35.
they would come to the house.
It's before
And
the
it would set
seminar
the band
started
up.
or after the seminar?
It was a Monday after the seminars. And so when they were touring, and back then, if you remember the record shops and you're a little kid, and they had the 45s, So I would see how they were doing, my mom would, and then we were allowed to buy 2 45s or 3 45s. So, you pick your favorite record. And this happened, for forever, to the point where I had found a number of years ago a case. I kept every single 45,
You have them?
every single album, every single one
still
of
have
them.
it?
Still have them in pristine conditions. And I didn't realize till about 20 years ago that they're valuable if you look at a record, and you will know this, that the first run, if they only did, say, 20,000 albums, and then did a reprint, that the first runs, and there's a way to tell, are more valuable than the second runs. And some of those collectors 45s and the albums
Got to be worth a bundle.
I have a couple Beach Boys in there. They're $300 some odd. This was 20 years ago for a 45, the original pressing. So I'm looking at all the stuff that I have. I've had tons of it. So I took the double security off my fishing tackle and put it in my record collection now.
Wow.
But did you know that?
I'm the idiot who
threw them all out?
when CDs came, I'm like, well, I'm never going to need these stupid albums. My house looked like a Peaches store.
Yeah.
And I gave them all away. I gave everyone away. I look at it, and it's so funny now. My son is in college, and he wanted a turntable, and he's like, they go out and they buy vintage albums. And you know what I love, though? It really was tough for me in high school when he was going through the hip hop phase. And I'm like, I'm cool. I'm going to be a dad. I'm not going to be the jerk. And I'm like, but he was exposed to everything, Beatles, Skinner, all of it along the way. Mm-hmm. Something happened. They just got out of that little phase. And now
I don't think it's out of your control. I think
it truly is.
Yeah.
But now they're like, oh, Dad, are you familiar with Neil Young? I'm like, yeah, I think so. But I'm really appreciating that they're now at the fraternity house. They got classic albums up in their house, and they listen to the nice. Crosby, Stills and Nash and ZZ Top.
Yeah, he has an AOL account.
It's going to come back in another 5 years. It's coming back in vogue.
The first podcast we did.
That's hilarious.
Jenny's like, because Jenny will get everyone's information, get it all on the calendar, get everything scheduled and everything like that. And he's like, yeah, it's I'm not going to say it, but it's at AOL.com. Right.
That's great.
And then she goes, you sure you don't want me to just send this message via Pony Express? I mean,
but look at everybody.
We can always send a Raven if you want.
No, who goes with AOL anymore is never going to get a hat. Nobody's over there.
Yeah. I have a couple of my old buddies, old school dudes, and they're all like over 50, and they're all AOL, and they're like, what? What's the matter with it? Dave Lamont, my old sports guy and good friend, he's an AOL guy. You're a decent company. Yeah.
It's like my hairstyle. Another 20 years will come back in style.
If you haven't left, we're lucky.
I'm hanging in. We're all hanging in there.
I should have known better than to actually have strange questions this episode.
Yeah, we're never going to get to the rest of it.
We're strange enough sitting here.
So my partner and good friend, Harris Katz, asks, what is the secret ingredient in your hot sauce?
That's you.
I don't have hot sauce.
That's what he asked.
I don't have a hot sauce.
I just figured what you guys said. All right. They know something I don't know.
I have a feeling that person is mocking me in some way because...
Probably not.
Do you remember Footy?
I do remember Footy.
Footy, an old radio guy in Miami, had hot sauce. So either he's mistaking me for Footy...
No.
Or he's mocking me. I don't have a hot sauce.
I don't know why. I got
a wine. You know what the secret ingredient in my wine is? Grapes. Yeah.
All right, so foot and mouth. All right, so
no, not at all.
I don't know. Harris. For some reason, I trusted him.
You know what? I do open phones Friday sometimes, and I let anybody say whatever they want on the radio, and it's a train wreck. Right. Much like this podcast.
Right. So now we come to our Jumbo question, which Jumbo asks a question every episode, and it's whatever. So he's not eligible for the shirt. I can just tell you that right now.
Is your wife?
No.
Does she want it?
No. She signed up for free T-shirts for life a long time ago. So what's the most ridiculous fact you know? That's the Jumbo question. I know.
Oh, God. Is it yours or George's? Mine.
Anyone who wants to take that.
The most ridiculous.
I know that. I'll say that. All right. Here's my most ridiculous. I have one.
I could have brought it. I could have done research.
You know where the term "give them the whole 9 yards" comes from?
No.
Everyone thinks it's a football term, right?
Well, I would.
Right, and you go, well, why are they leaving off the yard? Because it's 10 yards for a first down, right? Give them the whole 9 yards. Has nothing to do with football whatsoever. It started in World War I, right? Those long guns that they go boom, like right across the field, are 9 yards long. But to save artillery, you didn't have to load them completely. You could load them by half. So if you weren't really like onslaughting someone, you just load them by half, and you just want to keep fire on somebody, you just do it like that. But if you're really in the shit, you give them the whole 9 yards.
Okay.
I'll give you one.
All right.
A lot of people don't know this, but I started the expression. I heard that.
Did you?
No, but
I heard that.
But here's one. Bobcat Goldthwait, you know the comedian Bobcat. he coined the term "living that dream," and that's a fact. So
Really?
you asked for a goofy fact. That is about as goofy a fact as you're ever going to get.
All right,
Jumbo, you got it.
There you go.
Somebody wanted me to ask you, Paul, where did you come up with hectic day?
I overheard it somewhere, and I don't know why I kept going with that. I heard it somewhere.
You did? And you're trying to sue me?
You're right. I didn't hear it on a TV or radio show, but I overheard it in someone say, "Well, have a hectic day," sarcastically to somebody. And then when I first got on the radio, it must have been 84, 85. I said, I used to get celebrities before they would say goodbye. Can I get you to say, have a hectic day? And they would say, all right, this is Jon Stewart. Paul, have a hectic day or whatever. And then I collected them. Then I named my boat the Hectic Days, and now I've got the Hectic Days 5. So
you got some kid in high school ending his
Probably
announcements
saying
every day.
that.
I mean, that's really
it's
after
a funny
that.
story.
After
Do you
that, it
remember,
really started.
you listened back in the day. You remember that song, the Hectic Days song?
Yes, I do.
We used to have a little a band. So we were getting pretty popular, and we played the Hectic Day song at the end of our show and the beginning of our show every day.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a really cool little jingle. Have a hectic day. And we get a cease and desist letter from some attorney saying, we're going to need compensation for this. And wait a minute, you sent it to us. Hey, here's a song for your show. And then years later, they wanted to capitalize on it. You know what?
Really?
Only thing it did was bite them in the ass because we just didn't play it ever again. I don't know what they wanted. I never ended up getting.
That's how that ended?
Yes. Lawsuit.
Wow.
Ridiculous.
Lawyers ruin everything.
Did you know that
Yeah,
know that I was sued?
They do.
Did you know I was sued by Shirley Jones from the Partridge Family?
Over?
Stop.
The mother.
For what?
I was in radio in Orlando in the late 80s at Q96, Orlando's quality rock and roll.
This doesn't have anything to do with interns now, right?
Nothing to do with interns. Yeah.
Continue.
I used to date them exclusively, though. But if you call it dating. No.
They have an AOL account?
And so one of the bits, it was before Paul and Young Ron. It was Tommy and Paul, my old roommate from college, Tom Griffiths. We did a morning show for a couple of years, and we did this celebrity morning wake up call. Whenever celebrities showed up in a hotel in Orlando, and they were showing up a lot. It was the beginning of Disney and everything. I had a bellhop. I knew he worked at one of the hotels, and he was on my payroll. I'd give him concert tickets, and he'd go, Walter Cronkite is in room 421. So I'd call back the hotel, get room. This is Walter Cronkite. Good morning. Oh, hey, Walter, it's the Tommy and Paul show. Hey, goofy radio DJ moment. Well, it's nice to speak to you. Good to have you. And he was great. And we kept going. We get him. Then one day we called up Shirley Jones from the sweet America's sweetheart, the mother from the Partridge Family. And she had come in on the red eye, and she's, hello.
No.
And we're with the horns. Tommy. What? I'm on the radio? What? I don't want to be on the radio. Click. Well, thanks for welcome to Orlando, Shirley. And then about 2 hours later, after my show, I get called in. Paul, did you wake up Shirley Jones? Like, yeah, it was Celebrity Morning Wake Up. Well, her husband, Marty Engels, is suing us for invasion of privacy. They pulled us off the air.
Endangered privacy?
Invasion of privacy.
Invasion of privacy.
They pulled us off the air. We were on Entertainment Tonight, all the TV shows. It was the greatest publicity thing.
Sure.
They fired us.
Really?
Yeah.
No.
And for $15,000 is what it turns out that the lawsuit. They had to pay them off for $15,000. I lost my job. I had to go to Tennessee. It was terrible. 20 years later, fast forward, my producer back in South Florida with Paul and Yaron says, hey, you want anybody interested in interviewing Shirley Jones? I go, oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
So we get on and it's funny. I'm live in Cancun, Mexico doing a show with a bunch of listeners, and they go, Shirley Jones is coming up next. And I just can't wait to lambast her. I said, let me ask you a question. A couple of years ago, maybe 20, did you not get a DJ fired in Orlando for waking you up in a hotel room? She goes, well, that was my husband. I go, well, that was me. She goes, hold on, honey. And she hands on the phone. He and I went at it for 40 minutes. It was one of the greatest.
Come on.
He's like, you don't have the right to wake up my wife. And I'm like, yeah, anyway.
Wow. Sounds like somebody was capitalizing on his wife's fame.
Apparently, which is what I was doing. I go, if you think about it, I wouldn't have called her if she wasn't famous. And I said, it was probably a good thing to happen to me in my career early on because at least I get the story out of it.
Yeah.
But at the time, it's you lose your career. It's devastating.
Yeah. No, that kind of stinks that they fired you. I think
I think I'm glad I got the hell out of Orlando and ended up, even though I had to go to Tennessee and I went to Birmingham, Alabama, and other places. I only
You
had
made some rounds.
I had sights to get back to South Florida, and I got back in '90, and Ron and I had a 28-year run.
That was a good run.
That's a hell of a run.
Yeah,
I always say this.
It's almost unheard of if you think about it.
The Beatles did 10 years.
But the Rolling Stones are still going.
I love it.
That was going back to that Rolling Stone. That was my wife and I, and we're concert goers. That was our first concert we ever went to.
The one that the
Rolling
recent one they
Stones
did here?
down at the AAA. It was like 15, 16, 17 years ago.
Did you guys go to the one at the
I
Orange?
thought that was the last time you'd see them, but I was dead wrong.
I did.
I saw them the last time they came through here. I keep calling it the old Joe Robbie Stadium. I never really got that out of my mind.
I saw them at the Orange Bowl with Marilyn Manson and Smashing Pumpkins, and I got to go backstage and meet Mick Jagger, which is a career highlight.
Sure.
That's cool.
Got the picture, the whole thing.
Yeah, that's cool.
So I got to actually spend 2 seconds with Mick, and I said, "Hey, where's Keith?" And he goes, "Keith doesn't do the meet and greet." He goes, "I slap him on the ass 5 minutes before we walk on stage, and there we go." that was my moment with Mick Jagger, and I never forgot.
You got to give them credit.
Hey.
In their 70s, and I think they're still cranking out.
It's the Rolling Stones.
It is.
It's the Stones. They're the best.
I agree.
It's the Rolling Stones.
Although I did get a chance to meet. I spoke to Ringo.
Don't tell me Jimmy Buff.
No, I spoke to
Ringo.
Ringo 2 weeks ago, and
did you?
That was a career highlight. Yeah,
I got a good story about Ringo.
Well, just the fact that I got to speak to a Beatle is bucket list stuff.
That's exactly
priceless.
it. So we used to do our sales conference at the Hard Rock every year for this music industry job I had, right? So I get a call I'm out at the pool on the weekend during break time, and I get a call from one of the VPs like, "Hey, D, got to come to ballroom A right now." I'm like, "Okay,
cool.
Right, cool." And I walk in there, right? And there's just a bunch of other executives, right? And I'm like a director in the company. So I'm kind of like on the outside looking into this group, but they knew I'd really want to do this, right? So I was like, I'm like, "What's up?" They're like, "You're going to meet a Beatle." I'm like, "What?" Like, "Get out of here." So sure enough, Ringo was playing the Hard Rock that night, right? And we all got to line up and everything like that. So these people came in, lined everybody up like that. And like, "All right, Mr. Starr is going to be coming in just 2 minutes. And they'll go 2 minutes, right? Like that. He comes walking in. He's got a sport blazer on and everything like that. He looks around and short as could be, right? He looks dead at me out of the whole group. And he goes, "Yo, little, you stand next to me." Like that. And that's it. So we did. And we all did peace signs. Everyone, peace, everybody. Peace, everybody. So he made everyone do that. And that was it.
He was a sweet guy. And that's another sentimental thing. My father was at Kennedy when the Beatles arrived in '64. He was a special agent with the U.S. Customs, and he actually has black and white photos that I took, or that I still have, that he took the pictures of them coming off the escalator and all that stuff. Yeah, it was, that's pretty cool.
That is.
That's
Definitely.
great. That's great. Our next question, since we are in the Strange Question segment, comes from our good mutual friend, Mike Myatt. And since we have 3 Italian guys in the room, only 2 half, he asks, favorite Italian market and why?
Oh, Paul's definitely going to lead this one off.
Well, it's easy. Doris Italian market.
I'm going to say Doris's. That's what I'm going
Doris
with.
Down here, there's, it's spectacular. I mean, but with all due respect to my friends at Doris, in Portland, Maine, there's a market called Micucci, which can be taken as a dirty word. Micucci, Micucci's Italian Market in Portland, Maine. It's in the old port. And
not M-Y.
M-I, yeah. And have you ever been to Portland, Maine? It's one of the coolest towns in the East. It's the best. But you can smell, they do slab pizza. And they make it constantly, and so when you walk into this market, and then you get to the back, they just put it out, and people come in and take it. And they take it. It's just as it's being made. I don't think there's anything like it in the world. And they have the deli part where you walk up, "I want 2 pounds of prosciutto, a little cup of cola," and the guys are yelling and they're throwing cheese, and it's just, Doris is a civilized South Florida Italian market with all the ingredients you ever wanted. Micucci's Italian Market in Portland, Maine. I dream about the place.
It sounds like the Italian version of the fish market in Seattle.
Very similar, yeah.
By the way,
I went to that Pike's Fish Market in Seattle.
Was it good?
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
You could spend a day there. And you know who I ran into there? Did you guys watch Homeland?
Yeah.
The show?
Yeah.
Saul?
Yeah.
Yeah. What's the actor?
Names. I'm on the spot with names right now.
I didn't see it.
You don't watch Homeland?
No, I didn't watch Homeland.
Oh, my God.
The name is going right
I'm
over
still
my head.
watching a Partridge Family. Come on, I'm trying to get caught up with you, Paul.
Anyway, the Pike's Fish Market smoked fish, and you can walk through there, you can eat there, and you can buy ingredients there, and the giant salmon. And I did take my son salmon fishing when I was in Vancouver.
Nice.
And then we went down to Seattle, and we chartered a guy that we'd seen on a fishing show. And it's funny, I saw a fishing show. I said, that guy looks pretty good. We're going to Vancouver. I got the number, just like people probably do when they watch World of Saltwater Fishing. And I booked the guy. I said, I saw you on a fishing show. I want to fish with you. And that was one of our great highlights. We caught multiple king salmon, 2 or 3 of which we could keep. And we had it processed and shipped home. And yeah, that was a nice little, when we got home, FedEx had beautiful king salmon. I don't think there's anything like that.
It's that fresh. No,
that fish right there. But we trolled in 110 feet of water along a rocky ledge. It's like cliffs straight down, 15 miles from downtown Vancouver, not far. Bald eagles and bears and everything else everywhere. And
I heard that's an amazing place.
It is.
Vancouver.
Yeah. I think out of all the cold places on earth, I could live there.
Yeah. I've heard that
it's a neat town.
Yeah.
And stay at the Fairmont. That hotel is ridiculous. But that being said, we seaplanes flying in and out, great sushi, a great Asian community. The Asian food in that town is unreal. But they fish with barbless hooks, George. And I'm like, why? And they're like, well,
at the government rule there.
Yeah.
Is it really?
We did the big Prince Edward Island of giant tunas. And you have to fish with their boats. No U.S. boats that come up in there. And we did a show. This might have been 5-6 years ago. And they have these weird rules. They're not weird. It's their fishery that unless you have a kill permit, and each captain gets 1 kill permit a year, they could kill 1 bluefin tuna to sell. And we were doing our show in September, and their license time to kill that fish was ending the end of September. The captain asked me, if we got a good fish in your trip, would you mind if we killed it because we wanted to turn in our 1 card? I said, well, that's fine. But they said, well, for catch and release fishing, which we're going to do until we see if you got a big one, it's all barbless hooks.
Wow.
Then I think it was like they gave you, and I could be off by 15, 20 minutes here, but they gave you an hour to an hour and a half, I think, to release a fish that you're fighting. If not, there's a patrol boat that comes out. They'll make you cut your line. Then you're allowed. I thought once you hit their limit, how they score limit. If you fight a tuna, whether he runs off 15 minutes and you're fighting them and hook pulls, that's counted as your 1 for the day.
Right.
And then, you're back at the dock by
it was
noon.
a thresher shark. Come on. Wow. How do they know?
But they said with a kill permit,
it's true.
You're allowed, if you're going to kill it and you had the permit, you could have a barbed hook. But it's the government rule that they had in place for bluefin tuna. So I'm suspecting, I don't know for a fact, but I'm suspecting it carries over to what you just said.
Well, now I fished this summer. I booked a charter 3 times. I got a little cottage up in Maine. My goal this summer was to catch a bluefin. We didn't get one. 3 times with the same captain. At one point, his buddy fishing next to us goes, we got one, we're going in. 650 pounder. Right next to us. Live squid, fishing those little mackerel that they get up in the north.
Those tinkers.
Those little tinkers.
Yeah.
Oh, if we had those baits here, can you imagine?
Yeah.
They're everywhere. There's millions of them. But it's that one fish that has eluded me. And I ended up, I interviewed Dave Marciano from Wicked Tuna a couple of weeks ago. He goes, well, you should have fished with me down here off Massachusetts there. We get them. But the difference is, if we get one under 250 pounds in Maine, I get to keep the fish. Over 250, the boat keeps it.
Do
That's
yourself a favor.
Deal.
Yeah.
Prince Edward Island.
Yeah.
It'll rock your world. You go out and they come around the boat like school dolphin. No, I'm serious.
You hand feed them.
What?
You hand feed and they're throwing
That's
them up
October,
and you
right?
pick your fish.
In October?
We did it in September.
I
would go August, September.
I was supposed to do that with Andy this year.
Oh,
but then COVID, I couldn't make the trip.
Craziest thing. And
Andy goes up there every September and he slices them.
It's unbelievable. You're in 50, 60 feet of water.
What?
So they can't run deep.
Yeah.
They run out so you could beat them quickly in that heavy tackle if you have a good captain and get back on them fast. And they're all around. And you're just chunking them, and you pick the one you want, and your rod's in a holder, you strip off a bunch of line, and you've got your bait, Here's a good one. You throw it out and boom. It is the most bizarre thing to see these tuna. And they're so big, every single one of them. Like when you throw and you think you have your timing down and even a bigger tuna, no, I don't want that one. Boom, he hits and you hook up and it just smoke off. You're using 130-pound test tackle. Oh. Then, when you get a blackfin here, at the end, they do the tuna circle on you. Then you get a yellowfin, and they do the wider circles. These things, when they go in the circle, seem like a city block long by the time you get them in there. But it's an amazing fishery. It's a beautiful, incredible place. I mean, I highly recommend it. You have to experience at least once if you have the opportunity.
Well, that's what Andy was saying. He goes, don't you just come, he's bring the whole family.
It's guaranteed.
It's right up there. It's close to Maine. I could definitely do that.
You should, Paul.
So as you I watch all your shows. Some days I
appreciate that.
Listen, what else am I going to do? My wife's watching. Gina's watching 90 Day Fiance. I'm watching fishing shows in the other room in my man cave. But I see sometimes you go bone fishing.
Sure.
You do different inland stuff. You're an offshore guy.
I am.
You are, yeah.
Genetics.
But I got to tell you, I mean, that's how I was raised. But I started spending, summers in Maine, and I've really gotten. And while I haven't got a bluefin, I've really gotten good at striper fishing.
Really?
They're a fun fish.
They really are. It's a snook. It really is.
Paul, you stole the words out of my mouth. I said that's their equivalent of our snook. The habits, everything exactly the same.
Structure.
Whether it's night fishing or day fishing, exactly the same.
They don't like, they eat lures. I mean, they're a little bit more voracious, I think, than snook. In that I could if you put a live bait, like you could come to my house right now. I live on a canal and the snook are stacked under the dock. I don't care what you put in front of them. They're not going to look at it. It'll make you crazy. Although someone will pull up on a fly on a boat, cast right in front of them and catch one. Make me nuts. My dog's barking. I'm yelling, get out of my yard. But if you put a live bait,
I got an ice machine.
You put a live mackerel out in front anywhere, and if there's a mackerel in near it, you'll know it within seconds because that mackerel will be just like skating along the surface. And I've had more fun. So the slot is 28 to 34. I'll catch 15 fish, 20 fish in a day, all 27 inches. It'll make you crazy. But they're fun.
Yeah. Guys, I had a question for you. Not that we'll come back on this topic.
Nah.
Is what size shoe do you wear by chance?
Oh, Jesus.
There's the shoes up there.
No, I'm just curious.
I'm a size 14.
Size 14?
No, I'm a size 9.
Size 9 is just a right size to walk over there, put a little more ice and
look at that.
Up there,
I know it well from his show.
I thought you were going to spoil that.
I wasn't going to say a word. You've done it to Harry. You've done it to all your buddies.
I think you caught me though. I'm not sure.
You didn't try it with me.
No,
you knew better.
I was wondering where you were going with that. That's why I was a little hesitant to answer there.
Yeah. What's your buddy's name? Not that fishes with you all the time.
Carl?
Yeah, Carl Krause. Yeah. So you do it to Carl, but he's on to you now.
Oh, he's way on to. I got to change it up a little bit now too. And it's funny when you say that line to people, and you're on the boat, and they know you're live with a camera. They think they're getting a free pair of shoes. So they're all excited when they give you that answer. And they're like disappointed when you tell them to walk over there and open up the fish box.
Well, I gotta ask this next question from this guy. He actually happens to be in the room.
Another troublemaker.
So Justin over here with Justin Broderick asks, do you guys ever argue, because you're good friends?
Us too?
Do you ever argue about who's more Italian?
No, I think. Well, here we go. I never knew this.
Who has more vowels in their last name?
That's a tie. Isn't that a dead ringer right there? Yeah. All right. Okay, I'll throw it out because I'm not okay. I'm half Italian and the other half is Irish. I'm like you. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
So what are you, Paul?
I'm going to have to leave. So there. I always thought there was a lot of German on my mother's side until we did the Ancestry.com.
And she let you just walk around the house throwing bottles on the ground? Is that what it was?
Nice callback. But the Ancestry.com, turns out we have like 90% Italian, and then there's a couple of some weird stuff in there that you don't know where. England, and a little French, and then some German.
Oh, see, now it's getting complicated. How do you call it?
But I would say it was mostly Italian.
Oh, there you go.
Almost 90% Sicilian. So
wait, time out.
Oh, wait,
I'm throwing a penalty flag on this. Sicilian. Is that really Italian?
Should I take the headphones off and leave the room? I gotta go.
Now, look, my grandfather was born in Pennsylvania. His father was born in Italy, it was Pesaro towards the north.
Well, you might as well be Swiss at that point.
Well, I don't know, but to say, is Sicily really Italian?
Interestingly,
I don't know.
It's in
that's
Italy.
That's going to go in the controversial category.
Well, Sicily is part of Italy. What did you miss that day in geography?
Well, I always hear the joke that was Italy was the boot, and they were kicking Sicily, which I'm not going to say what it was.
Kicking it off but it's funny. I did go to Sicily, and if you walk through the towns, the street signs are in Spanish. There's English names, and because Sicily was conquered so many times over the years that over the centuries. But yeah, the ancestry said. We started out in Greece, our people ended up in Crete, and then all settled in Sicily and kind of went through Italy.
I never did that ancestry
It's
thing.
cool,
No,
yeah. You got to do it, man.
My daughters they like doing it, and so they said, well, Dad, we have this on my mom's side, we have this, what do we, they said we're really this, and I said no, I said you got to understand because they'll say ancestry, but they only say that we're only like 40% of Italian heritage. And I says, but they're forgetting one thing that you can't factor into that computer.
What's that?
The last name counts as bonus points. You get an extra 20 points for the last name. So your last name's still Poveromo. So that puts you more Italian.
I agree with that, actually. My last name is Friel, which is the Irish side. So I always consider myself more Irish than.
I consider bonus points.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yep.
So I don't know.
Well, I could tell the way you're drinking and you come home. According to your wife, drunk, that you definitely have the Irish in you.
Yeah, but I can hold it, though. I mean, that's the callbacks.
My wife being half Italian, half Irish, I think she got the more Irish on her side because of her cooking. Did I just say that out loud?
Oh, there you go. So
I feel your pain.
Have a potato.
So there's like this little genetic line here between the three of us here, and it's all...
It's all good.
All good.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
So
thank you for drudging through these questions with me.
These are fun.
I got Connor Eagleton asking the last one for you. He goes, what was your favorite Mark V and why?
Oh, again, very, very, very tough. And again, it's, me, and maybe it's the Italian heritage. It's hard to look beyond the sentimental value. There's, every boat was very, very good. And I've got to say the current one I'm running now has been like a fish magnet. This has been magnificent. And so much of that has to do with maybe timing where you are when these fish happen to be coming through at that time. But the current 334 Mako one right now is just like a magnet for big fish. I would say that, but then I've got to go back to the first 25-foot Mako that I started off before I got in the industry and then segued into the industry on that same boat. That's when I used to fish a lot of the Mako tournaments and trailer it. It was a second year the 25-foot Mako came out. My father had bought it. It was a 1979 25, and we fished that a ton. We caught a ton of fish, a ton of fun times with friends, and you look back at that boat, and again, you put the sentimental aspect into it. That weighs a lot too. And as the one I'm running now, they've all been good, but if I had to pick the two of them, I just said it.
Did your dad get to? I don't know if your dad's still alive. Did he get to experience your? He
passed away, and I'll tell you something about that. It is a funny story. Is my dad? He was a dentist, and he was in Bay Harbor. And he was a very successful dentist. He had the right location before Bay Harbor really became Bay Harbor, and he was there already. And he was nicknamed the fishing dentist because all he would do was like to fish. He loved dentistry and he loved fishing.
Perfect.
And so he got me involved in that. And he wanted his two sons, my younger brother, who's 4 years below me, had to become dentists. That was the deal. I'm going to move you. You're going to come to my practice because the whole bit. And I can't tell you how ingrained you had to be this dentist thing. I am not of that chemistry to look in people's mouth. I could look in a fish mouth all day and take hooks, but I can't look in a person's mouth.
That's one job I could never do.
And I'm not wired for it.
And you're always looking down in the mouth.
Yeah.
You got to be wired for it. I'm terrible in math. I'm terrible in chemistry. My younger brother, who is a dentist in Central Florida, picked up the chemistries. He picked all that up. And he became a dentist. And my dad was so worried about me. And he finally realized that I wasn't going to be a dentist. But then he got to be an attorney.
Oh, I got that story. They all wanted me to be a lawyer.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know why.
Because we could talk.
I don't know if I was able to even talk really back then, but so it was all these arguments. And then so he finally figured out that his son, number one son, is not going to do much anything, but he did support my fishing habit. Okay. So and I graduated University of Miami. He made me graduate.
Well, you made one mistake.
Well, we'll talk about this in a second, but I will tell you and remind me, because when I come back, I want to tell you one of the funniest things my dad ever said.
Oh, good, John. He's coming back.
I am coming back. So anyway.
Can I come back?
Yes, please.
We fast forward and I get involved with the Mako tournaments and I get picked up through there, the saltwater connections. I end up going to work for Saltwater Sportsman. We end up doing the seminar series. Then we do the TV series. So my dad's alive through all this. And he's amazed to the point where he was like shocked and very, very proud at that point, because I think he was more worried what was going to happen.
Yeah.
But he was so proud, and he was of the success and where I was able to get to where I was. And he had a weird sense of humor. It wasn't my sense of humor. Me, as you well know, we joke. And he was more, didn't like my corny sense of humor and this and that. So I said some joke one
Neither
time.
do we, but
he didn't like it. So he said, George, let me ask you a question. This was about a half a year before he passed away.
His jokes were a little long in the tooth.
No, I like, yeah, exactly. I like corny jokes. And
yeah.
So he said, George, he said, do you have your degree, your diploma from University of Miami? I go, I'm sure I do. He goes, where do you think it is? Probably in a trunk where you put everything that you have for a kid, as you're growing up. So do me a favor, do yourself a favor. I want you to find that. You take it out and you get it framed. And I want you to put that on the inside of your front door. And I'm thinking to myself, where is he going with this? He's dead serious. And I said, okay. He says, I want you to do that. You promise me? I said, yeah. And I said, well, why? He says, because God forbid, if your house ever caught fire and you had to get you and your family out of there, you would see that diploma hanging on the inside of your door. I want you to take that with you. Because if you ever told anybody that you graduated college and you didn't have proof, they never believe you. I thought that was one of the funniest lines you ever
really
delivered.
Good. Yeah, I remember a conversation with my parents, and my dad was like, "You're going to go into what? Broadcasting? I want to be on Saturday Night Live, And he said, just go to law school. Even the worst lawyers make $30,000 a year.
They're traditionalists. Yeah. Weren't they?
Yeah, I think it was like, because they never went to college.
Yeah, they figured with a law degree, you could do anything pretty much. That's probably what they figured.
Was a dentist. My dad never went to school. He was like, hard-working guy his whole life, U.S. Customs, special agent, all that stuff. But for me, it was, I just wanted to be the funny guy. And I didn't know, I won the Budweiser Young Comedians Tour back in at one point in college. And it was a competition. We had to do stand-up, and the grand prize was I got to open up for Richard Lewis, the comedian, in front of 10,000 people in Gainesville.
Wow.
And it was the start of my stand-up comedy career.
Big start.
Until I got heckled for the first time in my life, and I decided I will never do that again. I get up on stage, and I had 10 minutes. They said, you go do 10 minutes, and then Richard Lewis will come on. And I went up, and I did a joke, and the guy somebody in the front row gives me the slash sign. Goes like this, and I'm thinking, well, I'm being told to leave the stage. Turns out it was just some idiot who didn't want me on stage. No. And I'm like, and I run off to the back, and Richard Lewis goes, what are you doing? Why did you leave the stage? What did you? And
was he pacing like?
Yeah, he was doing the whole thing in his hair. And I go, the guy in the front row said I got to get off. He goes, you were being heckled. I go, I didn't know what heckling is, and I just realized, you know what? My ego can't take this. I'm just going to go and do my radio career, and it worked out for me. But I really, really, if I have to go back, fear is a weird thing. And I think a lot of people, fear is the one thing we should all overcome. My son, he's extremely talented and really handsome. Where to the point where he could, if he focused on acting, he could probably make it in as an actor. But the fear of actually doing it and standing up and being vulnerable in front of people and becoming a character or whatever, it holds a lot of people back. And I think it held me back from, I probably should have pushed through that. And I could have been a great stand-up, or maybe the next Letterman, gone on to California or New York, but I never did those things. And in the back of my mind, I think...
But you could continue, but you're on a Dennis Friel show.
I understand that. Hashtag rock bottom.
Go ahead, continue. Sorry.
That was good.
That was bad.
No.
That was good.
We're going to buzz balls. We're going to buzz balls. But
I like it.
yeah, I'm not ruining that I did not try those things. But in the back of my mind, I think, wonder what would have happened. You know, my friends all thought I was going to Saturday Night Live. They just didn't offer that course at UF or Miami.
Because you went to college, you didn't go straight to New York and knock on the door.
That's probably what it is. Yeah. You know, and my comedian friends around the country, and I'm friends with all of them, and you know, and very few of them went to school. You know, Bert Kreischer did go to Florida State, but many of them just as soon as they were 20, they were like comedy clubs. You know, they did this
stuff he does with the T-shirt and the machine is just genius.
Hysterical. I texted him. I go, "You want to go to Tropic Star Lodge?" Because I fished with Bert.
Are you buddies with him?
Yeah, very close.
He fishes?
Yeah, we fished.
Get out.
We fished with Dennis Forgione.
Paul, bring him on the podcast.
Oh, yeah, the fabulous Forgione.
Come on. Fished with Dennis Forgione, the fabulous Forgione, years ago.
You're going to bring him on the podcast.
Wait, so I texted him. I go, "We're going to Tropic Star in May. You should come with us. It's epic." And I sent him pictures of all these marlin. He goes, "Dude, I'm in Serbia filming The Machine."
No.
Yeah, he got a movie deal. So he is
fabulous.
He's next level.
Well,
but
who was the one that you might say was the most instrumental in turning your career to where you are right now? And I'm going to ask you the same question.
It's George Poveromo.
No, I'm not an artist.
my wife.
Now, how?
Actually.
Yeah, it was Gina. You know, I think that behind every creative person has got to be someone that's a rock.
Who understands the process.
And I was just kind of mulling along in radio, and the Paul and Young Ron show was doing okay, but they weren't really paying us, and they were treating us like garbage at WSHE, and an offer came along. And I'm like, I don't know. And Gina was like, "You need to go. These people are holding you back. You can do this, and that." And she gave me the advice to leave WSHE radio and go to 94.9 Zeta. And I needed her to nudge me along.
That was a good choice then.
I got to tell you.
They were hot.
Timing was right.
Well, they were hot because he went there.
Yes, I agree.
But you know what? It was all...
I understand they were good before that. That's probably...
No, they were not good. But when we went there, the timing was right because...
He brought it up.
You made that station right.
But it was the 90s, and it was the music, like the grunge. It all happened at once.
You were like...
We were the catalyst.
You were like Joe Walsh and the Eagles. You lit that band up, and you lit 94 up.
That's the greatest analogy I've ever heard.
But it's true.
Talking about my career.
That's
the truth.
That is a good one.
Because
you made that station because the Gator, you heard some ads and everything like that, and they were playing some decent music. But when you went there, that changed the entire landscape of that place.
It did.
You know that's true.
But also, Zeta, at the same exact time, we changed the music. We started playing Stone Temple Pilots and Nirvana, and there wasn't a station down here doing that. And we just happened to be the guys. And the show was good too. We were. The
show was epic.
Yeah, we were coming along into our own, and we had a good. We had a nice run.
The chemistry you and Ron had was good. It was actually good. It was incredible.
Do you know that they at one point, like 10 years in, they were 15, whenever it was that we left. They were like, "You guys are getting too old for Zeta. We want to bring in a younger show." And Howard Stern had left Big 105.9 and gone to satellite radio, and so Big was open. I think our company fired him because of whatever he was saying on the air, and they were like, "Yeah, we'd like you guys to move over there because you're getting too old." And we were like 40. I'm like, "What?" And they decided to bring in this show, Lex and Terry. And they were out of Jacksonville.
I remember that. Yeah, that show was.
And we
horrible.
were like, Lex and Terry are older than us. What? Well, they're edgier. And I'm like, okay. And they brought this show in, and they came on the air. They acted like they were our buddies. They came on the air, and then in a few weeks, they were like, "Paul and Ron suck." And I'll never forget it as long as I live. And we were kind of pissed, be like, "Hey, you guys are jerks. What are you doing? You're coming to Miami. You're saying that." But we were legends in the town. And they came into the market, and they got up on stage to introduce a band, and the crowd was booing them, and the crowd started chanting, "Paul and Ron."
Oh, beautiful.
Paul. And I got video of it. It was like at the time, and the idiots go, "Screw all you Cubans." And they walked off stage. Oh, yeah.
Oh.
And they were fired like weeks later.
What?
And and that was the end of Zeta. Zeta died right then and
because
there.
that was really that was part of it.
All part of it, yeah. And we were, listen, it didn't hurt me to go to the classic rock station because I grew up on that music anyway. But it was a shame that that era of music ended in the market. But, if you listen to our station now, we're classic rock, but we play Nirvana as well as Zeppelin. And I think that I think what happened is it got to a point where, and this is my opinion, so it doesn't mean anything, but when rap rock like Linkin Park and Limp Bizkit, it wasn't as appealing to older dudes that were 50 or 45 as Pearl Jam and Stone Temple Pilots. It made some of the dudes that came up on Zeppelin go, I don't want to hear rap with my rock.
Yeah.
Younger crowd was into it. So I think it was a little bit polarizing. And I think that was the beginning of the end of Zeta.
Wow.
How about that? A little less of rock and roll.
That's.
I don't get to talk about this on the radio. That's why this is fascinating.
That's a gem. Really. I mean, I wanted to bring up, you guys were talking about Rolling Stones earlier and we're talking about concerts, and I just this is the shittiest thing about COVID to me is the shows.
For sure.
And that's the truth.
Imagine if you worked in that industry.
That's like our thing.
God.
Like me and my wife. That's like our big thing is going to shows.
Money, you have a big 54-foot boat right now.
like rather than going out to dinner and everything like that. Okay, what shows do we have this month? Like we are just like audiophiles, like to the core, like big time. But and by the way, like my wife, you're talking about the biggest. I'm right there with you, 1,000%. She's the one that kicked me out the door to quit my day job to come to open this thing up. Like you know what I mean? There's no other way about it. Like there's been a shit ton of people along the way that have helped me along. There's no doubt about it, right? I mean, I can't even count how many people that have helped me in my career. There's no doubt about it. I love every single one of them, right then the Bernard Paul Husses and all the people on down the line that have been there and are still here with me, like to this day. I could not have done what I do without them. There's no doubt about it. But my wife, above and beyond all, has been my rock, and the person that hasn't. She's an artist too.
Oh,
anybody gets me, it's her.
I was just going to say,
understands.
Everything that looks, I can see what's yours, and now I can see what's hers.
Yeah,
she understands
the
really good stuff.
Exactly. She understands that process behind everything I do, and like right down to this weekend, how she knew that I had to spend every waking minute doing this guitar this weekend to get it done in time.
When is the Jimmy Johnson, by the way?
This weekend coming. Actually, when this airs, it'll be like as we're talking. Anyway, I know I'm getting long-winded about that, but I wanted to bring up Pearl Jam. Right, for the concerts and everything, like the best concerts. One of my favorite shows that I've ever been to was that one that I had at Lockhart Stadium.
Oh yeah,
right? That's one of the greatest.
One of the greatest shows
ever.
One
of the greatest shows I've ever seen in my entire life.
Dude, I left my house, drove everybody to the show, and forgot the tickets.
No.
Oh yeah. But thankfully, I was living in Pompano. I left everybody there. They didn't talk. They were so pissed. I had to drive home and get the thing. But that was a great.
That was the greatest show, wasn't it? Yeah. And then there was one when down at the Cameo Theater down in South Beach when the Red Hot Chili Peppers were playing, Smashing Pumpkins were opening for them. We were in line, and they announced the third band, and it was Pearl Jam. And everyone was saying, I don't know, it's the Earl James Band, someone, right? And then all of a sudden you see Eddie Vedder climbing the rafters at the Cameo Theater, and you're like, who the hell is this?
Wait, so Red Hot Chili Peppers played the Cameo?
It's Bloodshot Sugar Sex Magic Tour.
Were they just
Blood Sugar Sex whatever? The silver one.
So that was in the 80s?
No, it was the 90s. It was like 1990.
Why weren't they doing stadiums? I don't understand.
No, that was it. No, but they weren't. It was the Blood Sugar Sex Magic was the album that put them over.
Okay.
Then they came up with Californication.
Because I saw them at the Reading Festival in London.
They weren't stadium yet.
They were, okay.
Like in
makes
1990, I saw, I mean, you probably were there too for the Guns N' Roses show on New Year's Eve when Soundgarden opened up for them. Right? Now, Soundgarden opening up for Guns N' Roses in 1990 was a big deal for Soundgarden.
Right.
And I remember that, and I wanted to get in early to see Soundgarden. A lot of people couldn't understand why. I remember this explicitly because everyone was there for GNR, New Year's Eve, like the whole thing. So 1990 was a really interesting year for that break and that music, all the stuff you're talking about. This is kind of what I've been getting at. You're talking about the GTR thing and the switch in music and all that. It was right around that time. It was a very interesting time in music where people didn't understand or didn't have a gauge because everything was changing.
Well, it was either, if you listen to music in the 1990s, from 90 through 95, it was Phil Collins was on every record. It was Genesis and Phil Collins, but on the other side, and Eric Clapton, and everything else was Nirvana and all these new bands. And it was like a weird.
Yeah.
And the hair bands had just ended. Yep. And they were like a pariah. And I remember the program directors for the radio stations were like, You can either be a hair metal show, band, radio station, or WSHE, which we were playing all the Eric Clapton stuff, and then they were like, "You need to come to this new station, Zeta. We're going to play all this." And I was like, "What? Marcy Playground? What the hell are you talking about?" But it worked. Oh,
yeah, I bet.
It was.
All the Quiet Riot, the Twisted Sister, all the Warrants, all those were all going to the wayside, and you know what I mean, and the Saigon Kick. Even
yet those bands to this day, they do music testing, and those bands. People still love, the people that are 50. It
was fun.
Def Leppard.
yeah. It was fun. It was fun. And you know what else was fun? How old are you? I'll be 47 next week.
Yeah. So you probably like some of that Def Leppard, but yet you probably love the Pearl Jam stuff.
I love a little bit of everything. Yeah. I mean, because I grew up on classic rock because I'm the youngest of 6.
Oh, okay.
So all my older brothers and sisters, I used to thumb through the record set. So I grew up on Deep Purple and Zeppelin. And
what do you listen to on a boat?
Right now, currently, I'm listening to a lot of stick figure, a lot of reggae,
really,
a lot of stuff like that. You know what I mean? And then I'm
it's
all
good
over
fishing
the place.
music. It really is.
I'm all over the place. I really am just all over the place.
It depends on who's in charge of the radio.
I get in the jazz. I get into everything. It really, there's no. Miles Davis always had the best quote about music that I've ever heard in my entire life. When someone asked him that same question, and he's like, "I listen to everything. If it's good, it's good."
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Makes sense.
And the same thing with art.
If my son's in charge of the music, I'll hear some stuff that I don't want to hear. But he'll throw country at me, and then I'll go, "Oh, wait a minute, let me throw some stuff that I know that you haven't heard, like a deep cut from Skinner from my era." And those guys can wail. Yeah,
that's why we got along so well on my boat. Exactly. We had the classic rock playing the whole time, pretty much.
Yeah,
if I'm listening to country, I like it to have a little bit of a southern rock influence to it. Yeah, that's for sure.
Who I got into? I lived in Nashville for a year of my career, maybe 2. And a girl I was dating turned me on to Lyle Lovett. Lyle Lovett.
If you ever had a boat.
Well, there you go. Yeah. If you ever listen to, but he has an album called Lyle Lovett and His Large Band, and it's a blues big band album. And if you like the sound of big band music with his bluesy, soulful voice, it's one of the greatest albums. Yep. It's in my top 10 of all time. Lyle Lovett and His Large Band. I'm just saying.
No, Lyle Lovett's.
Hey,
that's solid stuff. It really is. It's smart music.
Dated Julia Roberts. Yeah. I mean, with that face, how did that happen?
Right, I wasn't going to go there, but you just went there.
Right, absolutely. Gentlemen, I don't want this to end.
No, me either.
But I guess it has to end eventually.
Let's keep it going until 4 a.m. You have all these podcasts done for a month.
He's the one that's got to edit it all.
And I got a show. I got to do, I think.
So,
let's all fish together sometime.
We got to do that.
That's the thing. Yeah.
Hey, Justin's got to be in there too.
I've been trying to get him to take me fishing. I'd never get the call. But
you will.
I'm just going to say. I'm just going to say.
And we'll get Paul. We'll get Justin out there.
Right. And the Snook Slayer.
Absolutely. Bring him out there too.
He's the Snook Slayer.
Is the big Swede still with you, George?
The best. He's here. Absolutely. Rob the Swede Green.
Yeah,
and he's in charge.
I love his crew.
He's a great guy.
He's in charge of the Seminar Series television production, as you will know on that. And he's still with me, obviously, on my TV. He's such a uplifting guy. And Paul, I think you're like wired like I am too. The more upbeat a person is, the better you are at doing what you do. You have to have somebody that really elevates you in your mood to keep you in that positive zone. And Rob, the Swede Green, as you well know, he's just so positive. We nicknamed him, we call him the feel-good man, because when he's around, he talks, he just elevates everybody.
You are preaching to the choir. It's funny. One of the guys I work with for most of my career has been a guy named Toast. Mm-hmm. And, 2020 came, and through whatever the reasons were, corporate decided there was cuts to be made, and Toast was a casualty. And I found out after it happened, I screamed bloody murder, and I said, "You don't understand. He brings an energy that you guys. I need that around me.
Sure,
I fed off his energy, and there's something to be said about that. And you can't just always look at the bottom line. You got to look.
No, you can't.
We're trying to entertain people 4 hours a day, and when we're all together and crap's going on, political garbage. But if you got a guy in there with that energy, like the Big Sweet or Toast, you feed off it and you keep it.
You do. And people hear you talking about that. Oh, come on. There's nothing like that. You can't feed off somebody's energy, but it's true. 100% true.
You can.
Ever work with a sourpuss? I have. Nothing worse.
I understand that too. And I'm a positive.
You said he was a sourpuss. He's a good guy.
No, we still come and see him every now and then. But I'm a positive person. I look at a glass that's always half full. And,
not that
no
one.
matter, well, that's because we got a slow bartender.
I mean, I got the old from him.
If we keep drinking,
I don't want your wife to complain and send you home drunk again.
I guarantee you that if this conversation continues and we drink a little bit more, at some point one of them will go, I love you, man. And then we've eroded. That's when we go.
Hey, he's in a crack first. I guarantee you.
Oh, I'm done. I'm already. I started this 5 minutes in. Trust me. Hey,
well, from all of us here, I'm Paul Castronovo. Thanks for coming. No, I'm sorry.
So there's a reason that he's been on for 4 episodes, and it's because of everything you're saying. It's just like, hey, he keeps coming back for some weird reason. I don't understand why, but he does, and I love it.
We could just do the 3 of us every week and not have anybody else. I'll have my people call you.
Well, listen, here's the thing. All right, so we got a new part of this show, right? Right, and another layer. And I talked to Myatt about this the other day. We are going to add the celebrity bartender for the show, and they're going to hang out at the Pilar bar.
I think that's so cool.
And we're going to do a new camera angle, and we're going to put a what do you say? One of those radio
mic,
and we're going to do that. And then Bombshell is going to be our first one, and she's going to come on and she's going to do the whole whatever. And I've already talked to her about it.
I've had celebrity bartenders in our studio from Papa's Pilar. It's a great thing to have a bartender while your show is on. The problem is by the 9 o'clock hour, it's like sunny and the highs are on 80 today.
You're starting at 6 a.m.
Because you haven't been trained. And then it says old podcast at 10 in the morning.
I'm 8:30.
Halfway through.
Oh God! Yeah.
Oh my God!
All right. Well, if I'm ever invited back, I live 10 minutes away. I'll be here.
Hey, you move the location. So the longer drive for me, but I'll still come back.
Going to be connected by water with the 3 of us and a celebrity bartender every week. I'm all good with that.
I can bring sponsors to the table. I got a lot. I got a lot on my plate.
I'm good. This is all being. Listen, Paul. This is all being recorded. I got this all on record. Okay.
You can swing by my house.
When you start getting phone calls from me, don't be like, who the hell is this calling me?
Well, no, this is going to happen. I love it. This is going to blow up. We're going to be the hottest. I've been thinking about doing a saltwater fishing podcast forever. I had no idea you guys had one already.
Yeah.
So let's do it.
He has it. I'm just like a common guest.
He's got it too. He just doesn't know it yet.
Wrote me
a common guest.
All right. Thank you, buddy.
He comes in when he's not filming for the Discovery Channel. How about that? So
I know.
Listen to Paul Castronovo,
Absolutely.
the show.
Icon.
The weekdays
South
from
Florida
6 a.m.
icon.
to 10 a.m. I got it right this time on Big 106, right?
105.9.
Well, yeah.
We're digital now.
I made the same mistake. I used to call it 10.
Well, it was
It's not Big 106 anymore?
No,
it was
Big 106 about 20 years ago.
Yeah,
I know.
I'm not a pro. It's cool.
Connected on water.
Connected on water. Old habits die hard. Old habits die hard. Connected on water. I deserve that.
That's pretty good.
It's a brutal group here, isn't it?
It's tough.
It is. I love it.
I love that. It's weird. Listening to podcasts, no one ever knows how to say goodbye.
No,
listen,
goes on for 40 minutes.
I do know how to say goodbye. I just don't want to. I'm just going to start drinking more rum.
From all of us here at the Papa's Pilar Lounge.
No, he has a dissertation he goes through.
Live from Papa to Beach.
And he goes through, he'll go in here.
All right, I'll just let it go.
So listen.
It almost feels like I'm on church on Easter Sunday or something.
It is. We got to make our community announcements here at the end of the day.
Do I look okay on camera?
We're having a clothing drive. Okay, everyone donate their clothes here and then just drop them off in the front.
What about Thursday's bake sale? Come on.
Listen, you know what the unique thing about the clothing drives we do here at Connected by Water?
It better be Columbia Sportswear, but go ahead.
Let's Connected by Water gear.
There you go.
So anyway, so you just drop the clothes off right in front of the window, and just all the bums just come and they pick them up. And they get the problem solved. We're all done. So, but we are having our grand opening on Sunday, March 14th, and celebrities George Poveromo and Paul Castronovo will be here.
I get a talent fee of $200 an hour.
I said that for you.
That's all you get paid these days.
May or may not be here. But we're gonna have Papa's Pilar rum. We're gonna have cornhole. We're gonna have I got my
you got a pig roast or anything going on?
We got Jim Ruback. Do you know who Jim Ruback is?
No.
Okay.
No.
Let me explain to you who Jim Ruback is.
Thought we were out of here. See, I open my mouth. We go another 40 minutes on Jim Rubeck. I'm sorry. Continue, Dennis.
The John Offerdahl Gridiron Grill Off.
Oh, yeah.
He wins it every year.
Oh, for what restaurant?
John Offerdahl's.
No, but what restaurant?
Fear the Cook.
Fear the Cook, yeah.
He's going to be here grilling out pulled pork and chicken legs and the whole thing like that. So he's going to be here all day just cooking food. He made that lamp, that Papa's Pilar lamp that's over there in the corner. So yeah. So he's a good friend of mine. We
is that a lamp or is that a Molotov cocktail? I can't figure it out.
It might be a little of both. Might be a little of both. So we're going to have our grand opening then Sunday, March 14th.
Is Offerdahl going to show up?
Yeah. Who?
Offerdahl. I mean,
Offerdahl. I said Alvaro.
Alvaro's going to be here as well. Yeah.
Offerdahl may or may not come.
I probably thought I said Offerdahl, but I'm sure it came out. Alvaro going to be here.
I thought it was back at Miami Dolphins game.
George, you know this for a fact. It's not every podcast I end pouring a drink.
Oh, nice.
Okay?
We got the bottle finished.
All right, so I'm going to do that. All right.
This has been a lot of fun.
If you or anybody listening or watching are in the market for a new truck, please go visit our good friends at Joey Cardi Chrysler Jeep Ram. Get yourself.
I thought you were going to say that you're trying to unload your truck. I'm like, where is he going with this? Okay, yeah, I like it.
I have the new Ram Rebel. I love that thing. It's kind of like driving around this sports car around town. Only it's a truck and it hauls a lot of stuff, and I can pull a boat with it. Right? So, and it's really cool. And there's a lot of very spacious inside. Go see my man Dean. If you do, go see him, and you say Dennis Friel sent me. You might get a better deal than most people will. I can't say that for sure, but there is a good chance.
And I got to back him up, and I do this every time he says that because I'm 100% Ford guy. And I've got to tell you, and I come back with the Ram trucks. They're remarkable. The 3500 series, what they've done
3500s are great.
Is been spectacular.
I cannot
and that's
comment.
coming from a Ford guy. So.
I cannot comment because Vista BMW would shoot me.
No problem.
Not going to happen.
No problem. But you can comment on this next one because we are all part of this family that reminds us never to be a spectator. So if you're thirsty, and I know you are, right? Please pick yourself up a bottle of Papa's Pilar rum, right? Our good friend George brought in the Marquesas, which we're very limited on this
that
right now.
That's
we're done, right? We're done with
this.
That's
my favorite. Yes, they are. It's especially.
There's only the reserve left
on this,
correct.
Right? And that's my favorite by far.
So I'm going to keep this. Is that all right?
Yes,
I'll trade you one. I'll give you one of the shares.
Save it until we come back next time.
We won't be able to open it anyways.
Hey, I know Mike too.
Now,
did you hear that?
What did he say?
He goes, I won't be able to open it anyways.
You're right. He's right.
I would like to go to the Marquesas sometime with you and Fish. I've seen you.
Why don't we do a show down
Maybe
there?
that's our trip.
You took your daughter down there and.
Yeah, that's our trip.
I love it. It's a family tradition. That's the place that my father loved to fish. He loved grouper and snapper. I'm an offshore guy.
Yeah, I'm a bottom guy.
He would go there forever and fish grouper, snapper, drag me there since I was a kid.
There's a lot.
I still try to go down there at least once a year.
There's a lot of hogfish in the shallow reefs there at the Marquesas. I love getting in the
rock
water.
piles there.
Yeah,
unbelievable. If you know which ones to go and then what to do, it's a lot of rod bending action, a lot of undersized fish, but you get some good quality keepers, and we've taken muttons 15, 16
what is it,
pounds.
About 20 miles west of Key West?
28. The spots that we fish 28 miles west of Key West.
And then the next stop is the Tortugas?
Well, no. Then you got some other, reefs and all along the way. But then, the next really part of land would be Dry Tortugas, which is another big haul from there.
I've been wanting to do an overnight Tortuga, one of those 2 or 3 days.
Like a Pulley Ridge kind of thing?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. God.
So why would you want to do that when we got these outboards and these boats that are so freaking fast? You could now I've done the Tortugas in one day. You run out and we come back at night. We've done it the second day. Instead of hanging out on the boat all night, you fish it, you race back, you get a nice AC room, you wake up 5 the next morning, 6 next morning. As soon as you get the safe light, you charge back out and you do it again. See, back in the old days when the boats weren't as fast or didn't have the fuel capacity or the motors with reliability, used to do that and stay out there. I mean, the whole thing has changed.
I don't know if you know
these are day trips
Dennis
now.
And I don't have Discovery Channel paying for our fuel bill at all, man. He's like, why don't you just run back and forth in a Tortuga?
I just get free rum.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it.
I was about to say, if I had Paul Castronovo's money, I'd throw mine away.
Why don't we, let's save this conversation for the next show.
All right, that sounds good. That sounds good. All right.
Sounds good.
So I want to remind everybody, it's too late to register now because by the time the show airs, we will be in the middle of the tournament. But I can remind you to bid on the guitar for the Jimmy Johnson tournament. Okay, so the Jimmy Johnson is this weekend. It's the biggest party on and off the water. And it is, I know as far as this studio is concerned, when it's Jimmy Johnson week, like it's on. So don't make any plans with me because I have obligations like all week long.
And I want to go to Marquesas next weekend.
Yeah, we're going to go.
Okay. I also want to remind everyone, if you are hungry, which I know you usually are, head over to my good buddies at Papa's Raw Bar. Right, they have a.
I was there 3 nights ago.
Very nice, very nice. Yeah. Did you order anything off the Connected by Water sushi menu?
No, I had the Paulie's Pokey named after your buddy Paul Castronovo.
Very nice
on the menu. Yes,
very nice. We have that's very nice. We have the Connected by Water inspired sushi menu over there at Papa's Pilar. We got the Takizi roll, and then we got the OCD roll and the Jumbo-licious roll. Lots of fun things going on there, and we got Pop Amigos over here.
Is that Matt OCD?
Yeah, Matt's OCD.
My old neighbor.
Yep.
I think if I could put a suggestion in, one of those rolls or something over there, you have to have the John Watler roll because he's been an instrumental part of this whole podcast. We got to do something with him now.
Instrumental part. He's putting together the whole damn
That's
thing.
What I'm saying.
All I do is show up and I drink rum and I talk.
At least give him a salmon roll or something named after him.
That'll be the Cayman roll.
They really, Troy, the son, Papa's son over there, they really have taken that place. I listen. I've been going to seafood worlds for 30 years or something like that. Yep. And now it's like they got the barrel room, they got the outdoor seating, the sushi is outrageous. Yeah. Tommy Green, who ran Custom Rod and Gun for so many years. Did you know he ate lunch every single day at Seafood World for like 30 years? Yeah, it's a funny story.
Really?
Yeah.
Every day?
Every
single day.
That's insane.
And to the point where I swear to God, I think he got mercury poisoning. I think. Did you hear that story?
Yes, I do. I knew it was mercury poisoning.
Mercury poisoning.
Mercury poisoning.
Tuna.
Okay. Yeah.
He ate raw tuna every day for like 5 years, and like something's wrong with him. Mercury poisoning. He was losing his mind. Whatever.
That's a true story.
Yeah.
Wow. All right.
Let's end the show on a positive note. By the way,
Paul, I'm just trying to fill some ads here.
I'm sorry. What do I know?
We got Pop Amigos coming up too, right? They got their food truck out there in the Bailey Arts District, right? But they're building that restaurant right now. We may or may not be doing some gargantuan murals in the place, so I got to kind of plug on see like that. And also, I just want to let everyone know that we just got done designing an entire line of apparel for CV, right? And
that's a devil's boat compared to what I run.
But when they launch a line called the Friel collection, you got to kind of say something on your show. Sure. Yeah, so we got the whole Friel collection that CV just launched with them last week.
Congratulations!
Thank you very much.
That's awesome.
It's a big deal for the studio. Hopefully CV feels like it's a big deal for them as well.
Obviously it is. I'm sure.
So we just launched that entire line. We just got done with phase 1. We're starting to get into phase 2, which is women's and kids. So we're going to be designing all that stuff now as well. So, so we are very happy to announce our partnership with CV in that respect. And last but definitely not least, we've already mentioned them one time in this show. Our good friends at ACR.
It's the reason why you're still here, to keep us alive.
Right. So I know a lot of us have a lot of stories to tell about people we know that could have used this thing that we don't.
That would have still been
unable to talk to them anymore. But they're
Lindsay Ford. I don't know if you know the story of Captain Lindsay Ford.
I'm looking at Paul.
Please tell us.
So
he was one of the great captains, and Bouncer and I went to his funeral. He fell overboard and never saw him again. And no EPIRB.
And then there's also a story of a lot of younger members of our Marine community that could have used that as well.
All that could have been, avoided with that thing right there. That at the most is going to cost you $600 for a top end shelf one.
Wait, this summer I was testing my unit, and every now and then I test them, and then my son goes, we had 2 of them, and the small one, the small ACR, and I tested that one. My son tested the big one, but he didn't turn it off. My phone's ringing. I got the Coast Guard calling me. Are you in the Maine off the coast? I go, no, what? I'm sitting in my cabin. Well, turn off your EPIRB.
Really?
But it was real. I mean,
wow.
It works.
Right. Paul, I'm a competitive guy like you. Yeah. I got you beat on that one. We were doing a show over at West End in the Bahamas a number of years ago, And I have my EPIRB inside the console door, and I had this one camera production guy. We go away for 4 days. It looked like he was moving out of his house. Suitcase after suitcase jamming in the console. We're running across in the Slick Calm Sea. We go to West End, Old Bahama Bay, and they see us at the dock. We're getting ready to clear customs. Oh, man, you need to come to talk. The Coast Guard's looking for you. Looking for me for what? I open the console door. On the way across in the Slick Calm, there's one big boat that ran south, and we're going east. I hit the wake. No big deal. But apparently it knocked this big freaking suitcase that he had up, and it activated my EPIRB. So I get there, and I'm thinking, oh, my God. They said, the Coast Guard looking for, could I use your phone in customs? First thing I'm going to do is call my wife. You know, I said, don't spend my life insurance money just yet. I'm still here. You know, but seriously, I had to let her know I'm okay. And she said, well, I knew you're okay because I called Carl Lederman, Harry Vernon, his brother-in-law, said no, because we got the camera boat. The chances of both boats going down on Slick Calm Bay are slim and none. And so I called the Coast Guard, and they said they sent a helicopter up. They're going to call it back. They said we were tracking when apparently you were 14, 15 miles off of Hillsborough, which we ran out of, and then the signal came on. And it kept going. Then we lost you closer to the Bahamas. Mm-hmm. And they said, how fast were you going? I said, it was slick. We were hauling. And so let us call the helicopter and get it back. They had launched a helicopter already
Thank
for
God.
us and sent it back. And they said, look, I told them what happened. You got to tighten it up because that could be a big fine. We're not going to fine you or anything like that. So, and it was funny. They
told you to tighten up.
Well, not in those exact words, but I knew what they meant.
Straighten up and fly right.
Buddy.
Yeah.
But they on Florida Sportsman, the fishing forum, which I'm saltwater sportsman, so that's the devil's brand too over there. But
Don't bring up Yamaha, whatever you do.
There's a whole big deal on there that George Poveromo was missing, that they had this dread going on.
Oh, God.
And I had these phone messages when I finally checked. And I told people, let them know we're good. It just and so they put that back on the forum.
We could do a whole show about being boarded and people falling overboard.
Oh yes,
I got a million of those. So
no doubt.
I mean, listen. I really do hope you come back on the show.
Oh, we'll be back.
Just make a phone call. I mean, what the heck?
We're not going to leave
tomorrow.
Special, yeah, absolutely. Next Monday is actually open. Next Monday is actually open.
I would stay, but I got to take a leak, so I got to go.
Yeah,
that's all right. So listen,
my wife's going to kill me. I didn't get home for dinner.
The point of these stories is this works.
No, oh, it is. That's all. It is.
Like a charm. Okay, so science of survival. Okay,
no doubt about it.
Moms,
ACR.
Make sure your kid has an ACR EPIRB on the boat. I'm
absolutely.
Dead serious.
Gentlemen,
it's been great.
Thank you so much.
What a great afternoon. Thank you for having us.
Listen, this may have been a fun little afternoon for you, but it was a big deal for me.
It means a lot.
No, I mean that. Listen, it really, truly.
You do totally.
Thank you.
Get over it, dude.
Thank you.
No, I'm kidding.
It's fucking awesome.
I'm honored, man. I love to bust your chops, but if I ever get the call back, it'd be, like I can imagine I'll leave. They're gonna go, oh God, thank God.
That guy. Don't ever meet your heroes.
Yeah, stat of the day.
Paul Castronovo, thank you very much.
Thank you, Dennis.
I appreciate your time.
You're
really,
a talent,
truly.
and like that tarpon thing has to come
amazing.
on. You gonna give me that?
Yeah, absolutely.
$25,000. It could be yours.
And you, it's always a pleasure. Come on.
Well, I appreciate the invite every single time.
Our
and
resident co-host.
You're never wearing on me or anything like that. It's an honor. And seriously, as hectic as we run, still in your term,
Bam.
This is like a vacation when I could come over here and hang out and then talk.
It's a vacation
fishing.
for me too.
Dude, I do this every.
I appreciate
I do this
that.
I do it every morning. It's the greatest job ever. Don't tell anybody. All you friggin' podcasters are trying to steal my career.
I was painting, like listening to the talk radio all the time and like podcasts. I'm like, I could do this too. Right?
It's
I'm
wonderful.
like, not very well, but I could do it. Right, just for fun.
No, you have a very calming.
You're
a very calming presence on in the and your voice is very mellow. You don't have an annoying, aggravating sound to you. No,
Thank you very much.
Trying
sir.
to throw one your way.
I appreciate it.
From all of us here at let's go. Let's
I appreciate that.
Let's end it now.
Your ego is not your amigo.
It's,
always do your best and let God do the rest, right? And don't ever forget that no matter where you are, no matter what you're doing.
There's a Sunday service involved.
Oh,
Here we go.
Yeah, thank you.
Don't ever forget that no matter where you are, no matter what you're doing, we are always connected by water.
There you have it.
Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you. Appreciate it.